Actually, you want to put the video on the screen?
Could we? Do you know how to do that?
Yes.
Huh. This is like that. Get out of the
You
way.
can start the meeting if you want.
All right, I'd like to call the Board of Selectmen meeting for November 2nd to order. Could I have a roll call, please?
Joe Shank present.
Chad Sexton Duranian present.
Veronica Cal present. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to announce that the meeting is being recorded, and it will be posted on YouTube after the fact. It's also live on Channel 9. Are there any additions or deletions? I do not have any.
I do
Either
not.
of you?
I do not, no.
Ross, did you have anything to
I'm
add?
fine, thank you.
All right. Public comment period. Are there any comments? All right, seeing none, I don't see any hands up.
I don't
I
see
don't
any
see any
hands.
hands either.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Moving on to 1.6, review and approve the meeting minutes for 8/31/2021 and 10/19/2021. So were you two able to get to those?
Yeah,
I made some edits just today in them. So the edits that I made for the most part were non-substantial. They were things like unanimous vote, I put in favor, just so that you would know. Sometimes it was yes and yes. So for, that's pretty much the only changes that I made for 8/31. I think there were a couple places where we'll talk about the format of minutes in a minute, but on those, that was the old format. So I went up and there were places where it was Selectman Cal and other places where it was VK. And I made it all VK, RP, CSD, JS. So just so you know that, I didn't make any substantial changes.
Those would be the changes I had as well.
Okay, so,
to keep the formatting properly, I myself, same thing.
So Madam Chair, I move that we approve the minutes for August 31st, 2021
is there a second?
with changes.
Is there a second?
Second,
All those in favor?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton Duranian, yes.
Veronica Cal, yes. Thank you. And then 10/19 is the new format, which thank you, Ross, for bringing it to us from Sterling. I really like it. I just find it so much easier to read than what we have. I haven't tried writing minutes this way yet, but I'll bet it's a whole lot easier.
And with your approval, and after showing it, Carolyn she contacted Sterling and got a template from them, so.
She's forwarded it to me so
She
that
did.
I can use it for the minutes.
So she had done the work on getting this gentleman to work.
Yeah, it looks really, really good. So,
Yeah, because you can see the topic and where it went. So
I think it will
it's-
make researching through minutes
much,
very
much
easy.
nicer. Mhm.
I love it. I did leave one blank. And I didn't have the number at my fingertips. So if you were to look at what's in the minutes, it's under the TCAM stuff. And it's the paragraph. So there's a part that has, if you have the minutes in front of you, 1,
Yeah.
2, 3.
Yeah.
And then the board reviewed the filings.
Mhm.
And then after discussion, in the amount of, I put, it says in the amount, a written confirmation, and I put in the amount of, and I have a blank in there. And I know it was 195 something. Do you have that, Ross? And I'll change it right now, because that's the only everything else, I made a few, nothing substantive, nothing. Well, I'll tell you the changes that I made. I wanted that dollar amount.
$195, $462, and 10 cents.
195, 462.96. Okay, so that's good to go. The other change that I made, and again, it was wording in this, under number 3, of the things that we needed to look at, I wrote a request for approval of the articles of amendment to the original PTM articles of organization.
Mhm.
So the articles of amendment is a specific Secretary of State form. And it, what was there wasn't clear on that, so I just changed that. And that's it.
Okay.
I don't think I made I made a few other more formatting than anything else, which is always a joy to do when I'm on a Mac, but when I'm working in SharePoint, it brings in Word for me, so it's not as bad.
And we found some of the things that we work on locally on our computers, we put them in SharePoint, they don't look the same.
Yeah,
So some formatting things, I don't think are operating error as much as system.
I
Shifter.
agree with that. It's a little bit, anyway, so that was it. There are a couple other formatting things here, but I didn't change them because the content was fine. It was just if there was an extra, line, I didn't take it out. So, but beyond that, do we have a motion? Do you guys have anything else to say?
No, I like the way the formatting is. It's much better, easier to read than what we've been trying to do. You can go right to a specific topic and
Mhm.
discuss it and read it, and it's much nicer. You
Good.
brought that to us, Ross. Thank you for that.
I agree. I move that we approve the minutes for October 19th, 2021.
Second,
All those in favor?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chess Extenduranian, yes.
Veronica Cal, yes.
Good job.
Hey, thank you, everybody. All right, the next thing, I had under 2.1, a report from the planning board regarding the master plan. I had asked Lance to come to talk about that, mainly because of the ARPA funds and us looking at the ARPA funds. I just wanted status. So he sent me a letter, which I'm just going to read. It's very brief. As chair of the Townsend Planning Board, I realized the importance in getting closure on the master plan report, as it is critical to potential funding and grant opportunities. I'm planning on addressing on how to accelerate completion of the master plan report at our next planning board meeting, November 8th, working in collaboration with the master plan committee. So my hope is that next year, when we consider the second tranche of the ARPA funding and what it's used for, that we do have a master plan to consult.
As liaison to the planning board, I will say that they are working in collaboration right now with the master plan committee. The plan is to be able to do revisions and try to get this worked as quickly as possible. I'm fully in agreement that we need to make sure that we do have the master plan complete before the next ARPA funds come in. More importantly, the housing production plan will be complete at that particular time too, so that we can include those two documents in our planning and future grant, because there's some grants that are coming up that we're definitely going to need that information in those documents.
Same with the open space plan.
Correct.
So, all right. That's all for 2.1. 3.1, these were appointments for Cultural Council. Volunteer response forms had come in for these positions. So let me get to that. so we have two appointments to the Townsend Cultural Council. So I guess the first one is there. Is there a motion to appoint Fran Levy to the Townsend Cultural Council for a term to expire June 30th, 2023?
I move that we appoint Fran Levi to the Townsend Cultural Council for a term to expire June 30th, 2023.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
I have reviewed the posting, and I've reviewed the form submitted, and they're all set. Everything's in order.
Okay, so all those in favor of appointing Fran to the Cultural Council?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton Duranian, yes.
Veronica Cal, yes.
Welcome aboard, Fran.
All right, the second motion is for appointing Laura Dole to the Townsend Cultural Council for a term to expire June 30th, 2024.
I move that we appoint Laura A. Dole to the Townsend Cultural Council for a term to expire June 30th, 2024.
Second that.
Any further discussion on that appointment?
I've also researched this, and she has put as a second possibility for the Historic District Commission. And Laura, if you're interested, they don't meet that often, but they could definitely use your help. So if you are interested with that, we can submit that over to them as well. But I just wanted to point that out.
All right, we need a vote. All those in favor?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton Duranian, yes.
And Veronica Cal, yes. Thank you. All right, the next one, moving on to meeting business. Number one is the discussion of the MSFP and the insurance agreement. This is the joint JPA. What does that stand for?
Joint purchase agreement.
Joint purchase agreement with Templeton and Dunstable for health insurance that we had discussed as a board. I think you might have been on for the very last part of that discussion. Chaz, I don't know that you were on the board at all.
I went on the board, but I was definitely watching the meetings.
So
This is with,
Templeton and Dunstable.
yeah, what was the gentleman we're dealing with? What's his name?
Well, we have actually on the Zoom is Ken Lombardo from NFP,
Okay,
and
Hi, Ken.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me this evening.
I think you had maybe dealt with Ken Picos from NFP.
Kevin.
Kevin.
Kevin
Kevin.
Pecos, right?
Yeah, Pecos.
Right.
But Ken is here who can, I think Ken can explain both what's involved in the joint purchase agreement with the two towns. And then along with that is what's the value, or whether we should be interested in contracting with NFP.
So I think first I want to start with contracting with NFP. Can we talk about that first?
Yep.
Because what we had done, we got those two bills in the June timeframe. One was for FY21 and one was for FY22. And so after consulting with town council, we went ahead and paid the FY21 because that was for work apparently already performed. And we said that we would discuss whether to engage NFP for FY22 once we had an interim town administrator in place, which we do. I guess my question is, first of all, what services are provided for that $10,000 per year that was the invoice? What are the services?
what did we get for $10,000? That's a simple scenario.
So I
Well,
guess
I
that's.
think it's
my-
what will you get, because you already paid the 10.
Yeah, what we
We got-
paid for last year,
Yeah.
What
will
are
you
we
get if
gonna get for the next 10,000
if we pay.
if we pay? And
Um,
can I?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna speak quite frank, Ken. First of all, I was not impressed with the way the whole deal went down with Kevin, and I'll speak that frankly. For someone to come and tell us that would be absolutely stupid not to go with his ideas and his thoughts. And we kind of move forward, and then we find ourselves with an increase in insurance. That doesn't sit well with me because I don't like to spend town money wastefully. So before I sit here and I vote to give somebody or your company or whatever another $10,000, I need to be assured that we're gonna get what we're paying for.
So I guess for me, I kind of want to know what services are provided if we don't do the JPA. What do we get for the 10,000? If we do the JPA, what do we get? What's the 10,000 paid for?
All right, great, thank you. And I appreciate that, Mr. Shank. I certainly, I know we've had some conversations about sort of a previous account management team. So the first thing I want to be clear about is NFP, as an insurance advisory firm in Massachusetts, is focused on managing health insurance for cities, towns, and school districts. So we're in this business space. This is what we do. It's our focus. I've worked with Ross Perry on previous employment engagements, town of Sterling, for instance. So our basic core services is to represent the town's best interest in obtaining health insurance from the insurance marketplace. So that's our primary goal. I want to make sure everybody knows that if we're retained, what we're supposed to do is make sure that you're getting the best value for health insurance dollars that you're spending. The premium cost right now is about $1.1 million between you and your employees, just for the active employee plans that renew on July 1st. There was a 6.8% increase. So the town achieved, unfortunately, the highest maximum rate level available from the Mass Interlocal Insurance Association. That's your insurance group last year. We did not help negotiate that actual rate increase. I mean, we were hired at the time to come up with competitive options, which we did. So one of the things I'll remind the team about, or maybe make you aware about, is that we did in fact present the town with a guaranteed 10% rate reduction in health insurance costs last year. We didn't have an opportunity to completely successfully implement the recommendation to take that offer. That was through another insurance organization at the time. It was not with Blue Cross Blue Shield and Maya. So there was an obtained rate savings program available, but for a number of reasons, we weren't able to execute on that information. But that being said,
can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
I don't remember that ever being presented to us.
Neither do I.
Okay, I can't comment on that part of it. We were never given the opportunity to present that actual proposal to the Insurance Advisory Committee, but we did in fact have an offer from a valid carrier to lower the premium cost. Now, one of the reasons maybe potentially, I'll give you some opinion and comments as to why that didn't happen, is there was some early discussion about potentially the employees not wanting to leave Blue Cross Blue Shield as the insurance company. Completely understand. We have clients that are involved with Blue Cross Blue Shield. We have clients that use Maya as the insurance organization. We have clients that use Harvard Pilgrims, Tufts, Fallon, who is going out of the insurance business, unfortunately, Always Healthcare. We have groups that are in the Group Insurance Commission. We have area communities that are in JPA. So we've got a lot of experience on how insurance organizations and arrangements work. For the town of Townsend, what our goal is twofold. Number one is, as a retained insurance advisor, our goal would be to work at your direction through Ross and your insurance advisory committee to come up with cost-effective options to reduce costs. That's what we would be hired to do. We can tell you that, in our opinion, there's market conditions that are likely to show, once again, that you'll have rate increases again if nothing changes in the health insurance plan for fiscal year 23. A number of reasons for that are COVID loads weren't included in the current rating structure. There was a premium holiday, benefited the town, but that could likely create some deficits. So we would help anticipate the impact of those two sort of things that occurred in the health insurance plan so that you could manage the budget going forward. So that's our primary goal, is to search and make sure that what you're getting from your current insurance arrangement, Maya, is appropriate and reasonable. And then to make sure your employees are made aware of what contemporary plan options might be available to help them reduce costs and manage sort of, if you will, the very important employee benefits. So we're trying to present balanced options for the town of Townsend. So that's what our primary goal would be to do, is to make sure that you're getting the best value for your buck, the best deal, if you will, for health insurance. You could certainly do nothing and just wait for Maya to present you with a renewal. And that's essentially what ended up happening in fiscal year 22. But there's no way to determine whether or not that's a competitive in the marketplace. There's no competitive leverage in the negotiation of the renewal with Maya if there's no independent authority looking at what they're presenting compared to what else is available in the marketplace. So that's the professional review that we would provide to you all. I mean, at $10,000, the value is significant, because ultimately what we're doing is answering to your sort of, if you will, needs for entirely the full 12 months of retained services. By the way, things that are also of value to you that you may not understand is we did help the town manage last year's annual open enrollment. And if you, I don't know if you were able to see a copy of the document that we helped to present. We did develop the written report for your employees to be able to view the information that's available to them for options, as well as to explain how the benefits work, as well as assisting the town in the open enrollment process as well. We also are available to answer questions about retiree health insurance or health insurance options for our community when it comes to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 32B, which is the rules and regulations of health insurance that you must follow. Now, as far as going over and above the standard services that we're responsible for, yes, we were helping to build a joint purchasing arrangement in your geographic area for the sole purpose of you joining forces with other area communities to develop some size in your health insurance program. You're at 48 employees today, so you're not really a credible organization, and you're susceptible to the changes, widespread changes in health insurance costs because of obviously adverse risk from large claims that would have a negative impact on a small group. Our goal was to build a large organization that had hopefully hundreds of employees in the plan for the benefit of those communities. The vendor who provided health insurance could have been selected as Maya, the current organization. We would have marketed it to Blue Cross Blue Shield directly and to the other insurance companies in the area. And then ultimately, what we would have helped do is to build a financial model where you all are putting premium dollars in accounts solely for the benefit of the towns, school districts, whoever are part of this JPA, so that if there's a surplus, you enjoy it by either getting money back or offsetting future rate increases. If there's a deficit that you create, it would be sort of allocated across a larger base of employees. So there's a couple of reasons why there's a benefit to doing this. Most importantly is bringing choice of plan options to your employees. So right now you have a set it and forget it option, if you will. It's Maya, here it is. You do business with them, it's great. We have clients that use Maya, we go to Maya for proposals. And then you ultimately just kind of go on with the fiscal year. But at the premium rates that your employees are contributing to, they are at the upper end of the range. The individual cost is almost $1,000 a month. The family cost is over $2,500 a month. So it's $12,000 a year for an employee for health insurance coverage. I'm not sure, or I can't recall what the pro rata share is, but it is a significant expense to you and to the employees. It doesn't necessarily mean we can't find a balanced option to lower the cost and preserve robust benefits, which would ultimately benefit the community, taxpayers, and the town of Townsend, as well as the employees. So we're really trying to bring some practical, balanced solutions for you all to review. You can take our recommendations and you can ignore them completely, or you can pretty much, let us help you engineer some creative ideas and solutions to head off health insurance costs. I would suggest to you that at the size of the organization, you're probably always going to be pushing up against the higher range of the Maya renewal level, and it was last year. the maximum rate increase was 6.8%, and you guys got the 6.8%. And we weren't able to really peer review it because, we were ending our relationship and our contract at that point in time. So we're providing an integrated.
Can I
That
speak
wasn't
for a minute?
true.
Sure.
Ken, sorry to interrupt you, but you're really piquing my attention here because I was involved since, I think, November, sitting in on all the meetings that Kevin was having with the present board. And I did have a little input, not that I was really loud, but they allowed me to talk. And since I've been on since January and we had our conversations, I really feel that that's not a true statement, what you just said, that we chose not to do nothing. So let's just call a spade here, that, when we were presented, and any member, Madam Chair can correct me at any time, that, we would be absolutely foolish not to go with your company to let them go. We were never at any point at the end of our contract, as you just said. I mean, we gave Kevin the okay. We took a vote to go forward to see what he could come up with. So I'm a little baffled on that we chose not to do anything, because I don't think that's a true statement.
Okay, well, I think my opinion was that we did produce a viable option for the communities at the time, which was, again, there was a 10% decrease in premium costs. So for the town of Townsend, that translates into a 16.8% swing, because we came in.
I wanna just say that we were never presented with any numbers as far as the healthcare went. The only thing, we never received anything as far as who the carrier would be and what the cost would be to the town. We were told it could be a 10% increase. That was in December. When it came back in late January, February, we were told that, well, that wasn't quite the case. And they couldn't tell us who the carrier was unless we signed. Our vote was to go forward if it got approved by town council, and that was in February 2nd. He had a question about that, what is it, MGL chapter 23, whatever it is, with collective bargaining. There was in the agreement, there was a paragraph about collective bargaining. And he had a question about that, which we never, at that point it got dropped. We never signed anything. But we also never saw any numbers. We were given hypotheticals.
All right, well, I can't comment on why that information wasn't brought to your attention at that time. I'll tell you that there was an option to lower costs. So I really want to mention to the fact, or make note to the fact, that the work effort did produce a cost savings opportunity in it. For whatever reasons, Madam Chairman, it wasn't presented. So let me kind of leave it at that point, but there was a valid offer available. Again, I would also suggest to you that you guys, as the insurance authority, with the direction, directing through the town administrator's office, would guide us as to whether or not to present these options effectively to the insurance advisory committee. We never got that opportunity to do that for whatever reason. So all I can tell you is there were some things done that could have reduced costs. Then ultimately, they didn't get for a reason.
Got dropped on this one.
Yes, it did get dropped on this. I also, we didn't really receive, not only did we not receive any information, we, the board, I'm saying, but the only thing we did get was a $10,000 bill. And when we called and asked about that $10,000 bill, I don't think the explanation was for me, exactly professional. Okay. Let me leave it that way.
Well, we did, I did suggest, and I know we're doing this over Zoom, but I did suggest an in-person call with our team. The account executive team that manages the town of Townsend is myself and another young lady named Joy Layden. She's the point of contact that's on a daily basis that usually answers to the treasurer's office or finance director's office, whoever's managing the daily benefit program. So we'd have a better opportunity to kind of explain what the value is. Now, clearly, I can certainly understand that if there's a number of dollars expense, that there needs to be a return on investment. So again, I'll explain to you that the opportunity to build the joint purchasing agreement or arrangement, the goal of all of that was to obviously to bring balanced solutions to the employee benefit program and to control costs. It is a long-term strategy. It's not going to happen overnight. We are meeting and talking to other organizations in your area to try and develop some mass to make this thing effective and create some benefit to all of the participants. Reaching out to the school districts, we're reaching out to other area communities that might have some interest. So there's a lot of work that's not necessarily maybe you're seeing as viable or beneficial to you immediately, but all of those things are in fact still going on. We do have some of the communities we've been meeting with. Winchendon, for instance, has shown some interest in possibly joining with with Dunstable and Templeton. Pepperell is another organization that's thinking about it. So there's a number of things that are still going on. Whether or not you're seeing them completely or being able to take advantage of them, I can't comment because I'm not sure why some of these work efforts weren't presented to you all at, during the last part of our contract year last year.
So where do we go from here? Because my understanding is, I'm not sure if we took a vote or not, but we were at the time interested in entertaining more information about joining with other towns as a collaborative. Am I not correct in that?
Well, what we had wanted was to know what are the options with what carriers, so we could evaluate that. And then what are the options with the JPA? So we could evaluate that. And what we were told is we couldn't get the options from Harvard Pilgrim or whomever, for whatever reason, we never got that. And for the JPA, we had no choice. If we signed on, that was it. That's the way we were going. We couldn't, once we were signed on, we couldn't back out if we didn't like the options.
Well, I think, as I understand it, I was not privy to all the different discussions you all had, maybe with Mr. Pecos, or the other TAs from the other communities, or the other board members, from my understanding, the town did agree to move forward, but has not signed any agreement. If you all signed the JPA agreement, like Dunstable and Templeton has done, then essentially you've created one big, large group, all three of you looking for health insurance on a combined basis. The opportunity could be that you still keep exactly the plan of benefits you have today. The goal might be to quote it with Blue Cross Blue Shield Direct and to quote the one large group with Maya, with potentially the benefit of, since it's larger, lower cost, but you still isolate your own employee benefits program, so you enjoy economies of scale. And then the other option is to market it to the other carriers in the marketplace. Maybe business leverage is advantageous to the town. So I'm not so sure, you may not still end up where you are today. It just might be in a different wrapper. And quite honestly, I would think that Maya would have an interest in preserving the relationship with the three organizations and may obviously improve upon the opportunity to keep you as a business partner. So I do believe there's some business leverage that maybe you might generate from this process. Obviously, if there are other participants, then I think the business leverage is significant, and there'd be much interest in other insurance companies getting aggressive on the premium rates. Again, remember, right now, you don't have any data. We don't know if you have high losses, low losses, whether or not you're getting overcharged from Maya. You've got a rate. Like I said, it's a set it and forget it type of arrangement. We've been advised that from other Maya participants that this year, because there was no COVID load in their rating last year, they did provide a premium holiday. Those are beneficial options to you all by still being with Maya. We would suggest that made sense for you to remain, as they did with the other communities. But we're not sure, and maybe, I don't know if you've been advised or Ross has been advised whether or not to anticipate a higher increase for fiscal year 23 because of the actions taken today. Maybe they are benign and there's no negative impact, but it seems to me, it would strike me as odd that if the organization didn't collect a whole month of premium from all of the participants, that trust fund might have depleted, a little bit and could have some negative impact. I'm not saying it's a foregone conclusion, but I'm not sure you can determine.
Well, I mean, for me, I sat in, I thought your corporation was going to guide us in the right direction. We were going to be able to save money in return. We got an increase. We did get a holiday. I get that. That offset that a little bit, but we still got an increase. For me, to take $10,000 of our taxpayers' money and say, all right, Ken, let's sign back up with you again and be in the same position we are next year, that maybe it'll be you or maybe somebody else and say, well, you guys just didn't do your job. I think we did our job. We did the best we could for what little we got from your corporation presented to us in black and white. So that's just alarming to me, because first and foremost, we have to worry about the taxpayers' money and how we spend it. So I just have reservations on my end. I'm only one board member, but to spend $10,000 that really kicked us in the butt really bothers me.
Can I ask some questions?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Ken, my understanding is the fee that collected from NFP is normally paid by the providers, except when you go with Meyer, in which case the town would have to pay the fee. So if we were to sign up with NFP and then, and after you helped us through the bidding process, the quoting process, we picked another vendor, Harvard Pilgrim, for example, they would then be paying NFP. What happens to the amount that we would have paid NFP to start with?
Well, well, first off, we wouldn't bill you the fee. There's a service fee embedded in the insurance premium at the same time. So that's illegal, Russ. So we wouldn't do that anyway. We would hold off in invoicing until final decisions are made so that we wouldn't duplicate the payments. So ultimately, they'd be done on a prospective basis without any compensation. And then if the decision is to not go with those carriers and remain with Maya Blue Cross Blue Shield, then ideally what we would be recommending is the best way to lower the cost of increase in insurance is to come up with some creative solutions with the plan designs. There are a tremendous amount of opportunities to hold costs and not have the cost sharing features of the plan change to the members, so that both the town and the members can enjoy sort of, if you will, lower insurance premium without a loss of benefits. So the techniques we would explain are part of the creativity that NFP brings to clients based on the fees that we're getting paid. So ultimately, the arrangement is laid out with the potential, aspirational, if you will, of a fee, but not necessarily guaranteed to be charged. So we could be doing work without it getting paid at all, to be honest with you.
Okay, I think in Sterling, you were able to set up monthly payments versus annual one lump sum.
Yep.
As a way to
And
adjust that.
if I can, I'll point to the town of Sterling this year. And I'll let the board know that they also received a 6.8% increase from Maya, just as the town of Templeton did, of Townsend did. And we were allowed to meet with the Insurance Advisory Committee and explain options. And we got the IAC engaged and make a recommendation to the town to change benefits, implement a health reimbursement arrangement, and increase completely. We were not afforded that opportunity to meet with the employees in the town of Townsend this year to offer some ideas and options. And the reason was, as I understand it, was to just simply renew with Maya as on the plan design. So again, I'll argue that the number of opportunities to reduce and control costs goes far beyond just the JPA. It's also working with the Insurance Advisory Committee at the same time. So, and that's
Insurance advisory.
Oh, okay. There was a question here if I can answer. The Insurance Advisory Committee was something that was set up a year or more back. And it's meant to have representatives of the employee groups. So it's representatives of each union. And they would meet with the town administrator. And collectively, we would evaluate insurance options. Because if you start changing the plan benefits, you can increase the deductibles and greatly lower your cost. There's a slew of health savings programs that could be implemented. But you generally need employee buy-in for those to work. And working with the employees so we understand their issues and they understand our issues, like the money is, the finances are really tough. We can't keep taking 6.8% increases every year. I think it helps to educate the employees on what the options are, what the pain is if we don't make changes, and what the efforts would be to make a change. Changing health providers is not a trivial task. It takes a lot of work to show everybody how it works and that it may not be as bad as it appears. I think that evaluating the town's health insurance policy, looking to see if there are better alternatives, if there's benefit changes that can be done to lower costs, but still keep the employees whole, is a lot of work. And we can either, I think as Ken said, accept whatever we get from Maya and just do nothing, or we can invest in a consultant who can help us walk through it.
We did. We paid $10,000 last year for that service.
Well,
What did we get?
I don't mean to be defending NFP, but I think you get out of a consultant what you ask for. In Sterling, we had monthly meetings with the employee advisory committee. They haven't had one here in years. Ken will tell you that I push them and the IEC push them, go out to bid. We don't like what we're hearing as with our current carrier, go out to bid. And every month they would bring in a new comparison. Well, if you want this and this is what two vendors are going to provide you. If you want this and this is what 2 or 3 vendors will provide you. If you don't ask them for those things and don't set up the time for them to meet with the employees, I don't think you get much.
Well, and Ross, I don't want to disagree with you here on this
It's
one,
okay.
but, we asked all those questions of Kevin. Veronica, Madam Chair was involved, I was involved, Chaz was sitting in the background, asked everything, well, what are we going to get? How do we go forward? What do we see? We were told that it was being handled the way, and maybe shame on us that we didn't ask more questions, or maybe we shouldn't have put all the trust we did in the previous town admin, and we maybe should have been asking, but however, I just have a big problem paying $10,000 for a service that last year, and no disrespect here, Ken, but we got duped on that 10,000. We got nothing but an increase. And Kevin, if he works for your corporation, he didn't represent it very well. That's my opinion. I have no more to say. The board can discuss what they want.
I think I agree with Ross as far as we need somebody to bargain and to explain the differences and how different vendors' policies and
Madam Chair, that's what they said to us. That's what I heard they were going to do. They were doing last year.
yeah, but I think that it didn't get done, so I think that next year it should. This
Can
coming year.
Can I,
Well, let Ross.
If there's a guarantee it's gonna be done, that's a different story, but
Joe,
there's no guarantees.
right, but if I think Ken suggested that our premium this year is $1.1 million, almost $1.2 million. It doesn't take much of a reduction of that rate to more than cover your $10,000 you're paying NFP. I mean, we're talking huge money. And if we get a 6 or 10% increase on that, that's another $110,000.
Mhm.
the town has to figure out how to pay, and to a certain point, the employees have to pay, because they pay a share of that.
Mhm.
It would be less work for me if we just did nothing and just accepted what Meyer comes back with as a rate increase. It's harder for me on the other side, because now I've got to figure out that much more how to balance a budget come next spring. But shopping for health insurance and looking at different plan benefits is a lot of work, but I think that's the best way to protect the Townsend taxpayers, to protect the Townsend employees, and to come up with a good deal. I mean, I don't like balancing an insurance bill by just raising the deductible and making the employees pay more necessarily, but at some point, we can't keep taking whatever the provider gives us without doing some competitive shopping.
Cass?
Mr. Lombardi, I know you're in a very difficult position because of the way things are. I think 50% of the blame rests on what had happened in the beginning of this year in regards to that. And I also think it's reflective of how this particular issue was handled in a couple of previous years before that. I feel right now we need to move forward and we need to make a decision as far as what we are going to do. But I do want to make a couple of comments on things that I thought this arrangement was at the beginning of the year. I thought that us joining with Templeton and the other community was supposed to happen at the beginning of this year. I'm thinking April or May. It was for the
No.
following year.
No, what happened, our vote was contingent on a review of Adam. It was February 2nd. It was for the fiscal year that we're currently in.
Correct.
And we were late to the table. And for whatever reason, it just got dropped. I
Right.
have no idea why. We never got a response from Adam. I don't know if the question was ever asked.
Uh-huh.
And we never had a form to sign. So it just got dropped.
All
But
right.
it would have been for the fiscal year that we're currently in.
So what
Can I-
my question would be is, Mr. Lombardi, are we still entertaining working with the other communities? Is that something that we're looking at as far as moving forward in this? That's number one. Number two is, I do believe that I remember the conversations that we had, that we would be getting a substantial reduction
Mhm.
in the amount of monies that came back were almost threefold from what we were told at that particular evening. I get it. I understand what your frustration is. Mine is equally there too. But we're at a point we need to fish or cut bait here. So we need to move forward. We have
So
to
let's
find out
take-
what we want to
Let's
do.
get a medium ground here. Okay, let's take 50% blame for the Board of Selectmen
Mhm.
for our own failure.
I don't think it was
Okay.
directly on the Board of
Not
Selectmen.
on the
but-
board, but we are ultimately the people in charge. The finger and the buck stops with us. You know, Ken, your corporation, I feel that, I don't think the proper presentation and representation from your corporation. Let's negotiate a price to move forward. You know, get a price instead of the 10,000, say, let's all just make this work and then show us what you can do down the road and we continue. I mean,
One of
that's
the,
business.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to explain to the board, and I don't know if this point ever got explained to you all, is during the negotiations of the three communities as one group last year, and if you recall, there were some signatures, there were some signatures that weren't done, so there wasn't an execution of the agreement completely. I'm just trying to recall from my perspective how I understood it, is that when we reached out to Maya and explained to them that we wanted one price for all three organizations and we were looking for the benefit to you all three, what Maya decided was, well, you know what? we're not so sure we want to do that because we felt we may get into a competitive disadvantage in the marketplace. So we were going to, they actually represented to us that they were not going to provide you with a premium holiday, you, Dunstable, and the town of Templeton, if in fact you went along with the JPA, because they felt disadvantaged. So what we said to them, well, is that we wanted to make sure that the community's got a fair share at looking at marketplace alternatives. The unique situation you were in last year was that because of COVID, the Maya trustees decided to exercise a premium holiday for all participants. The folks that run the Maya Trust, the executive director and their marketing team, when we spoke to them about this, they said, well, we're not sure we want to do that. We may want to yank that premium holiday. So at the last minute, we suggested to them that the 3 communities, because not all of them have signed on, should be provided with their individual renewals, just as they had been planning on anyways. So you did get a premium holiday and you did get a rate cap of 6.8%. So ultimately, the confusion, because there was not all signed agreements completed at the time, and there was certainly some, if you will, maybe disagreements on how the arrangement was being established, would have been a negative impact to you all through Maya. Again, I'll reiterate how it never got communicated to you properly. I can't comment. There was a carrier that was willing to offer a rate decrease had we got in front of the insurance advisory committees to explain what the opportunity was. So the little bit of history is just merely meant to kind of indicate that we're mixing the value that we provide you individually, and then what our goal was by providing a large organization with the benefit of a health insurance cost allocated over a larger group. So there's mixes and matches of what was supposed to happen and what was happening. So all that being said, I don't know if the organization, if Townsend is moving forward with the JPA, that does have an impact on the decision-making and the recommendations. So I can't tell you exactly what our game plan would be for you and how we would execute it unless you guys tell us if you're in the JPA or not. And if not, would our sole responsibility to be just to get the best value of benefits and costs for the employees and the town members, which is sort of related, but also a separate responsibility. So as we stand here today, we're trying to figure out what direction do you want to take the health plan in next? And as Ross said, I think navigating the very challenging marketplace might be, might be helpful if you have a trained advisor that's got the experience of dealing with this unique marketplace.
I think there's two topics on the table. One is to hire NFP as our consultant. And second is whether to proceed with joining the JPA and hope that we can increase our purchasing power by being part of a bigger group.
Well, I put something out there. I didn't hear a rebuttal.
I guess for me, with those 2 things in mind, I'd like to see an insurance advisory committee started. I kind of want to know what the employees are. Are they MIAA? This is it, gang. We want to do what we do. We don't care what it costs. I think when you're making a change, it's always nice to not take a huge step to begin with. And to me, the JPA is a huge step. I understand the advantage to it, but it's either that or you look at all the carriers and what you can get, and it means a change in the plan. And people are really, were really negative last year.
My concern with the JPA, as much as I think there are benefits to being part of a bigger group than a smaller group, my concerns are if the other 2 towns pick a health provider that we don't think is appropriate for Townsend, I believe we're stuck with it.
We're stuck.
Yes.
And changing providers needs to be sort of a grassroots effort where the employees through the IEC have realized the pluses and minuses and come along and agree with it. because they're the ones who get impacted. They're the ones who potentially have to change their doctors. They have to change their drugstores, their med plans. That's not trivial.
Right.
In the case of Sterling, we changed from Fallon to Myers. It turns out it was the exact same doctors, which was a benefit. But the only thing they had to change was submit a new health insurance card, which is annoying your first visit. After that, it doesn't matter. But I think hiring a consultant makes sense. The JPA maybe is something we wait for another year to see where we are and what providers we want to go with.
I think that I agree with that. I think that we get an insurance advisory committee going. We hire an FP as a consultant. What Ross says is true. It helps to have someone there to explain, okay, this is a deductible, you know, you're not going to have deductibles now. These are the changes. These are the advantages to these sorts of things. This is what each of the providers is coming forward with. And here's the bottom line cost for you. I think we do need a consultant for that.
And if they bill us monthly, then we're not putting it all out there. If it turns out it's not working the way you want, you've only lost a couple months. And I think Ken even said that they would wait to charge until they decide who the provider is. If it's someone other than Meyer, I believe there's no charge because the provider pays for it. If it is Meyer, then we would pay.
Right.
I'd be comfortable paying as we go on a monthly basis.
At a discounted rate?
Well,
Well, I agree.
Sorry, Ken.
I agree that I believe that we need to have, it's better to go with the consultant. I agree with that. But where I'm gonna put my foot down is I do not want the same representative we had before.
Oh, God.
I think we've got Ken and we've got Joy.
Yeah,
Both of whom I've worked with.
there's distinct roles between Mr. Pecos and myself and Joy Layden. So, and what I'm sensing is that the organization would benefit from, group insurance 101 education. And I think, Madam Chairman, you're right, getting the IAC members together to listen to what the marketplace looks like, what are the alternatives, what are the contemporary solutions, and have them help vet. And Ross, you've been through this, just coordinating and herding that group of people and focusing them on a direction is the best way to achieve some results. At the end of the day, the mere representation of us working with Maya might be beneficial as well.
I have a question about timeline. We're already at the beginning of November.
Mhm.
This was all brought to us in I think it was late November, mid-December, then January, and then finally for a vote in February. And by then we were told it was too late. That we should have made this decision in December.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering, what is our timeline for going to different providers to determine the rates for the next fiscal year?
I can kind of comment on that. So first off, we would help the town with some budget estimates based on current trends in the marketplace. We would approach the actuarial teams of each of the carriers that provide health insurance. Maya uses Blue Cross Blue Shield. Blue Cross Blue Shield gets some estimates of what they think is going on for fiscal year 23. That would help set budget estimates going forward. Secondarily, what we would do is we would ask the folks at Maya for certain information so we could analyze demographics, take a look at whether or not the population's aging, the makeup of the tiers, number of individuals, two-person families, to see if there's some benefits there. Then ultimately get some utilization information if they would run any to see where the dollars are being spent, to make some recommendations. So even though it's late in the game, there's still a lot of things that we can do to get organized and then present some options. And then ultimately, Maya is going to present their renewal ranges at the end of January at the MMA in Boston. It's usually, I think, the third Saturday of January. So you'll know what the maximum cost could be. A decision to do an RFP could occur at that moment. It won't take long to get competitive bids because the group is less than 50 employees. So we could sort through options, prepare a summary report, present it to Ross and then ultimately through the board, and then you guys can direct us on what options make sense. I can't comment on whether or not you're moving forward on the JPA. It would certainly be beneficial, you know, to market all groups together. But ultimately, I think there's enough time to get organized, present information. The only thing I think we need to worry about is the establishment of the Insurance Advisory Committee. If it hasn't been operational, then those folks will need to be educated on what their responsibilities are, how they should be made available to comment on options, keeping in mind that under Mass General Law, you all have a responsibility to engage the IAC annually before you enter into insurance contracts technically anyways. So we're really just trying to make you compliant and get the employees up to speed with what's going on in the health insurance industry. There's a number of options, you know, where we really haven't, you know, explained all of them to you. But I do think, as Ross said, there's some techniques that could be brought to bear to manage costs. There have been years, and I'll explain this to you folks because we've been in this business a long time. We've used Meyer a lot, where their upper range rate increase has been significant. Now, they've been beneficial recently, but if their losses are mounting because of the lack of utilization due to COVID and healthcare, and now they're hitting the bounce back of that, you could be looking at something higher than 6.8% that you saw this year. So I do think it would be prudent to anticipate that could be the case, and then ultimately how to get poised to make some recommendations. Those changes all need to be in place several months prior to the anniversary date of July 1st. So nothing has to be put in stone until May 1st of 2022.
Okay, so Ross, what do we need?
What do we
A
do?
vote on whether or not to hire a consultant,
I think,
a vote to start an employee.
well, I
Advisory
will
committee.
start, I mean, I've been given names of people who are believed to be on the IAC.
I didn't even know we had one.
And it would take,
And I can't find it in any policy here.
I think Ken was saying is actually it's state law that you have to be able to negotiate with your employees. So we'll let them know.
And that's where I'm saying, I don't believe that all the blame rests on the Board of Selectmen. I think
No.
there has been some, the ball's dropped outside of this particular group.
So I can
but-
get an IAC meeting scheduled in a couple of weeks, sometime
Okay,
sneak it in around town meeting or something.
okay.
It would help to have someone like NFP there to be able to explain to them what the process is and what the options will be and how it will go.
So can we have a vote to hire NFP as a consultant with Ken and Joy as our people?
At what price?
With, if Mr. Perry can negotiate a monthly rate for us, I move that we hire National Financial Partners as a consultant for our insurance needs,
Health insurance.
health insurance needs.
And what is that price?
Could we leave it to that? Ross can have a conversation about that. Would that be okay?
What was that? I'm sorry.
Joe said, so Ross and I will have a conversation about that. We'll work on a rate lower than a $10,000, but I'll have a conversation with him about that, okay?
That
That
I
works.
accept. I appreciate that.
At a rate not to exceed $10,000.
And don't come back $9,999.99. That don't work. All right, perfect. I'll second that motion.
Fair enough.
Do we need to discuss or can?
No, we just
go to
discussed it
vote?
enough.
All right, so all those in favor,
Joe Shank, yes.
Charles Sexton Duranian, yes.
Veronica Kell, yes. Okay.
Very good, Ken. Don't let us
All right,
down.
thank you
Don't
all.
let us down. All
Talk
right,
to you all
thanks.
soon. Thank you. Bye, Ross.
And
And
I can,
I'm not doing a vote on joining the JPA.
that's fine.
Okay, I mean, we'll hold that for later or another year.
I think that's
So,
a good strategy.
all right. Moving on. Review and approve the land use coordinator and grant administrator job postings. Both of these positions were funded at annual town meeting, so they are funded. They just haven't been posted or hired. I'd like to look at the land use coordinator first, mainly because this is a position that was part of the Collins report. And the job description that I put out there that has draft marked across it, so you guys can get the watermark off of there, that would be
Which one?
great. Yes, that one.
Which one? There was two of them in SharePoint. One that said draft and one said dir.
I just got your
Mine says
dir.
draft. I don't know where the DR came.
I just got to do that.
See, I'll get yours online.
Well, it depends
Well,
on
I
whether
do have
you-
draft too.
It depends on whether you printed the PDF or the Word, I'll bet.
So it's
Okay.
the same.
It's the same. I
Then-
Can I
didn't
see
put.
one? Yours?
That answers my question.
So this came, I didn't make any changes to what was in the, to what was there for the job description, which is what we're looking at first. I will tell you that Jessica was thrilled to see the bullet that says manages the town's national pollution discharge and elimination system, NPDES stormwater permit from the EPA, because she was the one that took care of this early on in her employment with the town this year.
All right.
And I think that next year is the last year of reporting for that one and probably starting up a new one. So anyway, there's that. And then Beth also made, I ran these by them.
And what
because
grade is the land use coordinator?
F, step one, F,
F is in Frank.
yes. Which is the highest grade that we have. It's, this person supervises the land use office, which includes conservation employees as well as planning zoning employees. And they report to you, I believe.
And has planning board and zoning boards been sort of in the loop on this?
I gave it not to the boards, I gave it just to the employees to look at. But yes, as far as the position went, yes.
Okay.
We have been, the land use coordinator was defunded for FY '21, but it had been funded and was a regular job here in Townsend prior to that. Beth had made some suggestions. One was about the documents, that adding a bullet that says they have overall document organization or a library and maintaining it. This is for the master plan, the open space recreation plan, the MVP plan, all of those plans that come out of the land use office. Housing
Thank you.
is under this as well. So the housing trust and the housing
The housing
authority
trust, the
Falls.
subsidized housing inventory, all
all
of that.
falls under the land use coordinator's
Mhm.
purview.
Things that we've been needing to report that we haven't reported in 2 years.
Yep. And Beth also mentioned that the land use coordinator also conducts the first review of the stormwater management permit applications.
Mhm.
Might be good to include, as it is in the regs and illustrated in a flow chart that I didn't print for you guys, but I can forward it to you. These were all good comments. She also said if we're doing digitization and the online permitting project, that this person would be the person that would coordinate that for the land use department.
Correct.
Well, it's a positive step forward.
So I would want to add those three things to this. First, stormwater pass, stormwater plans. And the digitization online permitting piece. And then maintaining and assisting staff in documents like the master plan, the open space plan, the MVP, et cetera,
Mhm.
housing production plan, et cetera.
Mhm.
I thought those were good suggestions, so I was wondering if you guys thought we could add those. to
Yes, I
this.
agree 100% with that.
I'll agree with you. And her, yes. So what do we do?
So I guess, and if you don't have any further comments on the job description, I would look at the posting. So the posting was, for the responsibilities, I just pulled some of the things out from the essential functions. And then for the qualifications, a bachelor's degree in land use planning, public administration, environmental science, regional planning or a related field, and 3 to 5 years of relevant experience or any equivalent combination of education, training, certification, and experience. Must possess strong public relations and interpersonal skills, computer skills with GIS, GPS knowledge preferred, and excellent written and verbal communication skills. And I added the valid Massachusetts driver's license, because that's on all our stuff.
Yeah, it is.
So the position is 35 hours per week. It's benefited. It's considered full-time with a flexible schedule to include evening meetings. So as required by those boards, this person might want be requested to attend meetings.
Is there a salary range on that?
There is not a range. I didn't put a range on because it's an F step 1. So I didn't go up higher.
I think you can track candidates or avoid getting candidates you don't want by putting, your estimated starting rate. It might be that F1.
Which is the 3098 that's on here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
56.
And that's what was
56,
budgeted.
Or
And that's what-
30.98 an hour with benefits.
Okay, I didn't see that. That's what's.
It's on the posting. I didn't go up because we didn't budget beyond that.
That's fine.
So,
I just think that a job posting should say what we're gonna pay, because otherwise.
Get everybody, get people want 100,000.
here, pass this down to Ross. That's the posting.
I think I have 2 of them. I can give them one of them.
Well, in the SharePoint, I put a Word and I put the Word and I PDF'd it because I didn't know if people were gonna make changes to it. And I always put a PDF in when I'm making it public because sometimes people can't read the Word stuff. Anyway, but I put the Word into SharePoint so that if you wanted to edit it, you could. That was my thought.
So are we needing a motion to approve these?
Yes, with changes in the job description and then to post the posting. And in the posting, I was going to add a link to the job description.
So,
Okay, so I want a motion to accept the job description with the 3 bulleted additions. And then I want a motion to accept the posting with a link to the job description and to post it on, I don't know, the MACC, the MMA, probably both of those websites, as well as the town bulletin board and the town website.
So be it. How'd that sound, Taz?
MIA, MMA, and the town bulletin board,
MACC,
MACC. okay.
MMA, town bulletin board, and the town website.
So Madam Chair, I move that we approve the land use coordinator job description with the bulleted changes as outlined.
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, so all those in favor,
So Shank, yes.
Jeff Sexton Duranian, yes.
Veronica Cal, yes. All right, and then a motion for the posting.
I move that we post a job posting for the land use coordinator as written here with a link to job descriptions and posted to the MMA, the Townsend Bulletin Board, and MACC.
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Frank, yes.
Chad Sexton-Duranian, yes.
Veronica Cal, yes. All right, so land use coordinator goes up. All right, the grant manager or grant administrator is a little bit more involved because this is a position that was not part of the Collins report. So what I did for the job description and the posting is I went out on the web and Googled grant administrator and pulled up a bunch of stuff. But the idea for this is a 15-hour week, also grade F, step 1, non-benefited. So it's a person who, I'll just read the posting responsibilities. The grant administrator oversees, coordinates, and is responsible for the reporting and management of grants received by the municipality. The grant administrator supports boards, committees, departments, and the town administrator through administrative oversight of grant funding. And I see this position sitting in that office under the purview of the Board of Selectmen. So this is like the shared streets and spaces that we're doing right now. This person would work with whatever team is going for the grant, work with them, write the grant, see that it gets turned in on time, do any responses that are needed. You know, if the grant is accepted, make sure that the payment gets into the treasurer and into the accountant.
So grant manage.
It manages the grant.
Okay.
It works with the team to make sure things get procured. We've spent a lot of time doing that for shared streets and spaces. This person would coordinate that effort. Whoever the group is that's doing this would still be involved. They would work to write the IFB needed for anything that needs to be bid for a grant, those sorts of things. And then in the end, writes the report that's needed to show that you've spent the funds appropriately. So that's what I'm trying to say there. Qualifications, bachelor's degree in business or human services or a related field, and 1 to 2 years of relevant grant writing and administration experience preferred. Proficiency in math, demonstrated ability to write clearly and persuasively, and excellent computer skills, including word processing, database and spreadsheet, Excel competence are required. And then, of course, a valid Massachusetts driver's license. But anyway, and then the job description, if you look at that, I took the headings that the Collins Center uses and I filled in. That's what I did. To the things that I will tell you that I used a YMCA grant administrator job posting the most. But I also used some from the towns of Walpole and Framingham, I think it was. But the best one was the YMCA as far as the job description went. And then supervision received. I thought about how I thought that was going to work. So I would, you know, if we don't want to post this one today, we can wait for 2 weeks on this so that you guys can have time to look at this and think about it. I don't think it just requires someone that has grant experience and a degree of competence.
Well, we need one here,
Right.
so I think we should move forward.
Does the job description include, say, quarterly reports of all grants received?
Okay. Reviews and approves all grant-related payment requests, bills, invoices, and statements. I don't know if I said quarterly. Reviews all monthly financial reports, makes corrections to grant-related income and revenue as needed, and communicates all changes to the town accountant and the appropriate boards, committees, and departments.
What I'd like to see is somebody who would keep a tally of all grants received. Because I think the public needs to know, actually, the board needs to know, but the public needs to know, hey, we brought in $50,000 of grants this quarter. You know, the police department gets grants every year for dispatch. I think that gets lost in the noise and no one hears about that. And I know the fire department gets grants, some of them are small, but $1,500 or $2,000, maybe 20 or 50,000 for dispatch, but
So how would you word that, Russ? Provides a quarterly accountant to the a quarterly report of grants.
grants received.
The entire community.
Yeah, and
Or
that
the
means
community, everybody.
getting feelers out to police, fire, conservation, everybody that's getting grants, and some of them get big ones and some of them get small ones.
But at least we'll see.
But I think it can be very impressive when you know, we did at Sterling where we brought in $650,000 of grants this year. This, and this.
Yeah.
So that the public understands, we're not just sitting around spending their money, we're actually getting outside money to help the town.
Good idea.
Okay, so if you look at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bullet down, coordinates with boards, committees, departments, and/or the town administrator regarding funding efforts and provides a report quarterly provides a report on a quarterly report to whom? The Board of Selectmen?
The Board of Selectmen, but I think, you know, that's how you're gonna justify this person's salary, is to say you've spent X, but you've gotten in 10 times that in grants.
Yeah.
Or if it turns out the other way around,
And we know it's not working.
it's not working right. But let's publicize the good news.
So it's again, it's a $30.98 per hour job, 15 hours a week, approximately 450, 460 a week. No benefits for this. Okay,
Make a
so
motion
I'm
to
gonna
post
make
it.
that, and I'm gonna put it on that bulletin, bullet, coordinates with boards, committees, departments, and the town administrator regarding funding efforts, and provides a quarterly report to the Board of Selectmen. And for posting on the town website for the public or whatever. I guess I don't need to do that. I can just say it provides quarterly to the Board of Selectmen.
And you guys, so this person is assisting departments in their grants and also proposing grants to the departments? So if you go
Yes,
both
that's
ways.
my bottom bullet. Cultivates and sustains relationships with possible funders through the community, state, and federal government to ensure access to important information and emerging opportunities. That you can thank the YMCA for that. But that's what I'm, keeps their tab on, like Mass Trails has just come out. The Wild and Scenic is going to be coming out. Those are all things that if someone doesn't know or see it, you don't know you have that opportunity to apply. So, anything else?
Good.
So this has already been approved and funded, right?
The position is funded.
Yes.
It's under the Board of Selectmen budget,
Mhm.
and it is funded for this salary.
So I think we should just move ahead.
Just move ahead, post it.
So are we good with the job description?
Mhm.
All right, so we need a motion similar for the job
So-
description with the addition of Russ's suggestion.
I move that we approve the grant administrator job description with the changes noted.
Okay.
At 15 hours per week, right? Should we say that?
No.
No,
But that is what it is.
that's what it is.
Maybe you want to say grade F, step 1 for 15 hours a week.
at grade F,
Step one.
step one, whatever what is it?
15 hours. per
15
week.
hours.
15 hours per week.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion?
Mhm.
All those in favor?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton Duranian, yes.
Veronica Cal, yes.
And the job posting is all ready to go too as well.
Yeah, I would do the MMA. I would do the town bulletin board and website. Is there anywhere else, Ross, that they should go?
We'll look for what we can find. I mean, wherever,
Okay, I didn't know if there was some other organization. I would just do MMA, I think.
and he didn't say newspaper for either posting. Is that,
Oh, we don't usually put these in the
Okay.
newspaper, but we could.
so,
Um,
I think there's an issue, Ben, with the newspaper. We used to use, right, and then they didn't put anything in because someone didn't pay a bill.
Well, we
So-
paid that bill.
Yeah, but now, I mean,
I
we
mean, I don't know
still,
that it's all that effective these days because most everybody's
No.
electronic,
Yeah.
but
What we haven't been using is places like Indeed. And I will tell you, that a lot of towns
Mm-hmm.
do put stuff out there on Indeed.
It's always on Indeed.
the problem you
We
gotta
could
be
do that.
careful is if you put it on Indeed, someone's got to really pay attention because they put it on a credit card, it keeps running and running and running. And if you don't catch it,
Okay,
so, and I have
and
personally
I've used some of
it.
those and you get thousands of applicants
That,
that have no qualifications.
none, I don't
Whatsoever.
recommend that,
let's just keep it with what we
Yeah.
have then.
yeah.
And if we don't get any nibbles, we can expand.
Okay, and I'll include a job description link on this for the posting on the website.
So I'll move that we approve the grant administrator job posting to post on MMA, the Townsend Bulletin Board, and the Townsend website.
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton Duranian, yes.
Veronica Teller. So we only have one job that was funded that hasn't been posted yet, and that's the web manager, website administrator.
Yeah, let's talk about that later.
I mean, I don't have it on this, but, all right. Thank you, everybody. We'll get those out this week. All right, approve and sign outside of the meeting, all 2022 renewals for common vittler licenses contingent upon receipt of the required documentation and payment as provided in the listing.
Yep.
And my question to you, Russ, is do I have to include all the names in the motion of the,
If it was posted as part of the agenda, no. If it wasn't posted as part of the agenda, then you could just read the names, you don't have to do the addresses.
right? But it wasn't posted as with the agenda.
Well, on the agenda, I put all 22 renewals for common vittler licenses.
But was that attached to the agenda that got posted?
Yeah, was
It's
this,
in the SharePoint.
no, was this
Yeah.
attached to the, what was posted
On the
on the
website.
I
website?
don't believe so.
Probably
Okay,
not.
so I'll have to say each, just the business name.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I move that we approve and sign outside of a meeting all 2022 renewals for common particular licenses contingent upon receipt of required documentation and payment. And this would be for Sophia's Pizzeria, Cliff's Cafe and Catering, Global Montello Group Corp., Season Palace Number 3 Inc., The Ice Cream Factory, McDonald's Restaurants, Townsend Pizza, McNabb's Pharmacy, Pizza Pizzazz, The Gourmet House, DBA Panda Walk, the Cooperage, the Inc., the Townsend House, Townsend Rod and Gut Club, Hannaford Brothers Incorporated, Energy North Stores, DBA Hafner's, Bailey's Bar and Grill LLC, Patriot Pizza, South Fitchburg Hunting and Fishing Club, Apricot Donuts Inc., DBA Gourmet Donuts, Cherry Hill Ice Cream 2, Townsend Country Club Corporation, Grover Care Inc., Courtney's Donuts LLC, DBA Dunkin' Donuts. FJ Catalano Enterprises, DBA Dunkin' Donuts. VFW Post 6538. And Yum To Go, DBA Bullion Bistro.
All right.
Second,
And a second. All those in favor?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton Duranian, yes.
Veronica Cal, yes. All right, 4.4. Review, approve, and sign outside of a meeting a one-day special license for Natalie Call, VFW Post 6538, for November 20th, 2021, in conjunction with a birthday party with sale hours from noon to 4 p.m.
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton Duranian, yes.
Veronica Cal, yes. Review, approve, and sign outside of a meeting a one-day special license for Natalie Call, VFW Post 6538, for November 27th, 2021, in conjunction with a birthday party with sale hours from noon to 6 p.m.
So moved.
Second,
If I can just add,
Yes.
and actually this applies to the previous one you just approved. I checked with the police chief. There were no reasons to deny this license, and there are no issues that we need to put in as far as special conditions. So
Contingencies.
no reason to do anything special, but I just wanted to check that there wasn't any issues behind the scenes that the police might know of, that you would want to know about, and there weren't any.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Ross.
Yeah.
All right, all those in favor?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton Duranian, yes.
Veronica Cal, yes.
Thank you to the chief for getting back to me quickly on that.
All right, moving on to 4.6, review and maybe vote to approve the warrant articles. So I maybe shouldn't have put the maybe in there, huh? All
Well,
right,
what I'm asking you to do is to approve the submissions, not the wording and not the warrant. You will get another chance to vote the actual warrant. But there's articles in here that I represented what people sent me up until the warrant closed yesterday afternoon. And I've had some discussions with some people, some that were on a day or so have been pulled off, but this is where we are as of 2:40 this afternoon.
okay, so can we go through these one at a time and discuss and, all right, do you need a vote on each article, Ross, or can we just say, yeah, drop that one?
I think that's sufficient.
Okay,
Because there'll be a formal vote to approve the warrant after I've cleaned it up and
okay.
Got
And
the
when,
wording.
when did you have to have it to the printer? Our next meeting is the 16th, our next regular meeting.
I thought it was the 22nd.
The 22nd is a working meeting in the morning. 22nd is a Monday, I believe. And we have a work session at 9 a.m. I think our work sessions are the 8th and then the 22nd. Those are Monday mornings at 9 a.m.
So I'm jumping to my update for you, but my schedule is based on how you vote tonight. I will get the final wording done and figure out the budget finalization. I'm hoping to get the whole thing to town council by the 16th of November. And I think there's a meeting with the finance committee on the same night.
16th, yeah.
And then have the board sign it on the 22nd. And it would go to the printer on the 23rd. It would be available for the constables to post on the 23rd. I'm not sure if the moderator wants to have a pre-meeting to sort of go over the cast of characters, but that would be done shortly after that. On December 1st, I would write the motions and send them to town council for review. On December 13th, I would prepare motion books so everybody knows what the latest motion is and who's going to be reading. And by then you would have told me who's going to be reading each article. Town meeting is on the 14th at 7 o'clock. And
Is it here in the Great Hall
it
then?
is here in the Great Hall.
And what will we do about masks and
Masks.
distancing?
I'm assuming, having talked to the Board of Health today, we expect the mask requirement will still be enforced at that point.
Yeah.
Do you have a guess on how many people will be attending?
Quorum is 75.
Rough guess is 150.
I say 100, but
I
Right,
agree
that's-
with Joe.
Yeah,
I think
I'm
about
just saying
100.
we should plan for
It-
150.
Yeah.
We could put wages on this to see.
I'll go with that.
Anybody want to guess on how long the meeting will be, or you want to wait until you see how many articles are?
Yeah.
Let's wait till we get through the articles.
Okay,
But anyway, we're probably looking at 10 o'clock anyway. Maybe not, depends on how many we drop.
so Article 1 is to pay some old bills. I'll show you the total, and I show you what they're for. That will be a 9/10 vote, because this is a special town meeting.
Can I just ask, what department is that for? What building?
The CM Geeks, I think, is the water department.
No, that's the
That's
police
police.
department.
I'm sorry.
What about the impact fire, the sprinkler system?
I can find out. That might have been the library, but
No, I think that might have been one of the public safety buildings as well. We just the building was goofy and went all around through like 4 different departments and ended up getting lost. And when we finally, if it's the same one I'm thinking of.
well, it's not the recent one that you moved because of the cell.
No,
Okay,
no, this is an out of fiscal year expense. They didn't know which department to bill it to or something along that line. It just ended up falling through the cracks, if memory serves.
okay.
Okay.
So we don't know what building the sprinkler system was
I want
repaired
to
in?
say it might have been ours, or I don't remember which one. I think it was ours.
So,
But either way, it was one of these ones where it was a sprinkler job that they did or did some work on the sprinkler system in the older fiscal year, and they billed it to the wrong department in town, which is a very frequent thing for these vendors that serve multiple buildings and multiple departments. It's not unusual that happens. For some reason, this one fell between the cracks for a longer period of time than most.
okay,
And the CM Geeks, who's that for?
Yeah, that was a couple weeks before the end of the fiscal year expense, and it got confused with their annual monthly payment. They thought we were double billing us when it was in fact a completely different job. It was for the installation of computers both at the police department and fire department. Work's already been done, obviously. This fell between the cracks again, so close to the end of the fiscal year that it just got missed.
okay, so I just have to ask, this is more for my own, the CM Geeks, I know that you guys pay for your own IT. But for the sprinkler system, do you also pay for your own facilities?
So
Or
it's-
does that come out of the facilities? budget?
No, it's been back and forth over time, and it predates me as far as how that's been handled. Since I've been here, it is divvied up to the appropriate department to pay for their own things, often coordinated through the facilities department, which further exacerbates the confusion. So again, facilities may coordinate the work at 3 different buildings in town. When the bill comes in, it's gotta get split between 3 different departments, and that sometimes create some of these billing issues that we have.
I think this
So I
is something
think
for
we
us to work on for the FY 23.
I
You mentioned
agree.
it the last few years in a row, there's landscaping sometimes where, for economy of scale purposes, we want to do it together, but when it comes billing, it becomes very difficult. We do it for gasoline, we do it for some things that will never get away from it, but it is inefficient, it does
It
have.
has
all
to
these working-
be, it's not only that, it's the internet service per building,
it-
it's the telephone
you name
system, it's what you and I were alluding
and I
to.
would-
Paying for fax lines.
And it might clear up some of my confusion, at least with the facilities budget.
Well, one is
I never figured out.
we should
last
know what bill is in which budget, so we don't go like
time.
this.
Yes,
And then find out that it got dropped.
exactly. I
I would think generic services such as sprinkler inspections, maybe landscaping, get put on facilities. If it's
I
something specific to the police station or the library, then that should be in their budget. And-
Okay,
But we can work that when we start. I'm gonna get through this budget for
Yeah.
FY 22, and then we'll worry about FY 23 budget.
Yeah, that's.
okay, so these are both, it says submitted by Board of Selectmen. Is it submitted by the Board of Selectmen or is it submitted by the police department?
I think it's submitted probably by the account.
Oh. Okay, All right, so are
And do
we
you want
good
to
with
pick, do
these?
you want to pick who's going to read these articles as you go through?
Not
We'll
yet.
do
Not
that,
yet.
we'll do that after.
Yeah, no, let's
Okay.
just get through these.
Okay, so are we good with these?
Yeah.
No, but yes.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't
so
wanna pay
these
them, but
stay
we
in,
will.
they're relatively low.
Well, and
Okay,
these are housekeeping ones that,
We need to fix. Yeah.
okay. Article 3 will come back to.
what about Article 2?
Oh, I thought we already agreed.
We just did Article 2. That's the
That's the
geeks.
geeks.
Yeah, we talked about both of them.
No,
We
Yeah.
did
this
it?
is the new one that Russ just handed out.
Oh, I printed.
I'm
from
sorry, I
before.
should have started this by saying,
Oh, I
well,
see,
it
Article
should say,
1.
it should say 11/2/21 at 14:40 this afternoon.
Got it, all right, so Article 1
False
is
start.
full.
And yeah, so-
Rewind.
So I grouped in the older
Got it.
version, I grouped Articles 1 and 2 into one article
Yep.
because they're all the same thing, and that seemed to make our accountant happy.
All right, Article 2, can we come back to that?
Sure.
That's the budget one, we're keeping that one,
Yes, that's why we're having town meeting.
that's exactly right. Okay, Article 3. All right, Article 3 is what was Article 4. I'm a no on this.
I'm a no on that as well.
This is $5 million to continue the Greenville Road project and do a 3-year road reconstruction plan. I think it's good planning. It may be premature to put it in the special town meeting, but I think it's indicating that someone's thinking ahead and the town should plan
Well.
for something in this
and-
direction at
and
some point.
I get that, Ross, but that was on the floor at town meeting to do a road maintenance plan, put money in. And the town spoke very clearly that they had no interest in starting that. And I mean, I have no issue. We've got to deal with this Greenville Road Bridge. And that's all it should be. That article should be strictly for the Greenville Road Bridge,
Well,
or just wipe that completely.
I think that that's one of the things that we're considering for ARPA funding.
Yes.
And so I don't think, I think that when, this is something to come back for annual town meeting.
if we
I
have to.
also at annual town meeting, what Joe was talking about, we have a general bylaw 89 pavement management plan
Mhm.
that has not been adequately funded for the past 2 fiscal years. The
Yes.
fiscal year prior is what Joe was talking about, where the town struck down the override
Mhm.
to pave the roads. But if you look at that bylaw, we should be putting money into that every year. And the pa-
And I'm gonna speak right up on this because I agree that there was a lot of work and a lot of effort from previous boards in regards to that particular issue, which I think should have been funded for the past 2 years that have not been funded with excise tax. That's what the bylaw was written for. So I planned on really making an effort to put this in the spring so that we start funding this the way the plan was supposed to be rolled out.
Okay,
I
so
think-
Article 3 is out for,
Article
Yeah.
3 is out.
that's fine.
But something that we should consider at the annual town meeting as far as funding the
Yeah.
general bylaw 89 goes.
I
Yes.
think bring it up then.
And that would be part of the budget, naturally. So Article 3 goes.
Article 4 is transferring money from the water enterprise free cash account back into the stabilization account.
Okay.
So that has no tax impact.
That
Now,
also,
wait. I'm sorry, go ahead, Jess.
that has also, I'm not understanding why it has no, I take that back. That's a previous version. So never mind the previous version on this. The water commissioners did vote on this to be able to reimburse the stabilization fund on that particular thing. So that has been voted on.
Oh, it was. Okay, these are the retros. To reimburse, it doesn't say why. The old article did. Do we care?
Well, this is at the bottom of Article
Oh, the
4, it says
description.
description.
Yeah.
Got it, okay, all right. I'm looking at the old, I read the old articles, so I.
Yeah.
Okay,
These are what was bargained
that's
for.
wonderful, so they
yeah.
did,
yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
So yes. Article
Yes, they
4
bargained
stayed.
for it, the commissioners voted on it, and now we just need the town vote on it.
Okay.
Number 5.
Article 5 is taking money that was in a previous town meeting article and using it for a new project, the Greeley Road upgrade. So again, this should not have a tax impact, because it's moving it from one town to another.
Can I ask a question? Do we still need the Main Street and South Street upgrade?
Yes. It's a increase in diameter of the water pipes in that area.
We can talk about that. Okay, I'm just thinking of infrastructure.
Yes, me too, and that's why.
Okay. So, yeah, I think this one can stay.
These are also approved, this was also approved by the water commissioners, and a lot of these funds have been approved for other projects, but because of the PFAS, there had to be reorganization of their planning, and these articles are in conjunction with that, if that makes sense.
All right, now. Yeah, so I'm good with keeping 5 in there.
I am.
Article 6. If I can put that stuff out and go out with me. I'm talking to myself here, you guys, just look at me. Okay, so my question is for you, Ross. If there are things that we're keeping in here, but we decide to use ARPA funding for after we see what everybody else does, can we just pass over it? I mean, because,
If we know that there's ARPA funds on December 14th, if
yeah,
if it turns out that we get ARPA funds later, this warrant article would remain, and we would recap that. You know, we'd have a warrant article in May that says to transfer the funds approved in the special town meeting, Article 6,
Back to,
back to whenever.
free cash or someplace else.
Because David sent me a list of things that he wanted, that ARPA funds could be potentially used for, and I know this one was on that list. But we have to look at what everybody puts out there before we see what we fund this year versus what we fund next
Yeah,
year.
so, I mean, if you have those answers on the ARPA funds by
The
the
14th,
14th, yes.
which I'm hoping we know by the 6th what we're doing.
If not, since this is not a raise and appropriate, it's not going to impact taxes. It doesn't hurt for it to be hung up in this account and then transferred back later.
but I also want to, this one is okay, but there are some things that do still need to be approved by the water commissioners before we take action on it. At least
Okay.
we should be wary of that, and that's why I'm being very careful of each one of these.
Okay, so do you know if the water commission?
This one is, yes, this has been approved.
Then that can stay. Article 7,
6.
Or you approved 6, right?
we're approved, 6 is okay, yeah.
Yep.
So it's Article 7, this is for well cleaning at Witches Brook. I'm okay with this. Did the Board of Water Commissioners vote on this? Do you know, Chad?
They did, when I talked to the chair, he wasn't sure about that one, but I would say yes on this one too. Because I know we talked about it, but we couldn't remember if it was voted on in the meeting.
Okay. I'm good with that one. And what about Article 8?
Yes, that was voted on. That was for the Harbor Trace PFAS water treatment facility,
For planning
correct.
it. I had a question on Article 9. Can you tell me more about this, Ross? My question on this, I didn't get a chance to look it up. I don't think I brought that with me. Maybe I did. Were these funds allocated at some point for the West Towns meeting room? Is there an article? Why did I think there might be a roof article? Could be for a different building, but a different ATM article. for that.
I think I had a conversation a while back. And the article that maybe you're referring to wasn't broad enough to cover this roof repair. So this would end up being a new article. If I'm thinking of the right one.
You could be, right. It's just a thing that's, I'm not certain on. It's just kind of bouncing around there. Let's leave that. Well,
Then we could leave it in and then it could be just move no action at a town meeting if it turns out that it's covered
Find out.
somewhere else.
Yeah.
mhm.
I'm all for making it shorter, but now, the other point about a roof repair that's approved for funding on December 14th is that may not be the best time of year to be planning to do a roof repair. So the reality might be that it wouldn't happen until May, in which case it's almost town meeting. Do you wait and put this in the annual and figure it'll be done July 1 of next year
That's my thought.
versus done during the winter this year?
I mean, is there a big issue that roof's leaking really bad, or is it, what's the reason that it's here? Who says it has to be in for what reason?
It's the facility.
Facilities manager said it had to be in because it's leaking and this is his best estimate on what it would cost to fix it.
So my concern would be if it's leaking, if we wait until springtime, has it created more problems with mold, mildew, anything in the building? So I guess those would be the questions we really should be answering.
Can it be remediated or something
You
until?
know, they
until the
do,
spring?
they do roofs in the winter time, not the best thing to do, I get that. But if this is truly leaking and it needs to be taken care of before we create more of a problem, then we need to move forward with that.
I guess the other question is, what's the age of the roof? Is there, and the same goes for the next article, I think. Is there a warranty?
Yeah, I don't know, someone would have to do some research to find out when that roof is done
Well,
last.
and the
but I haven't-
warranty only covers usually the materials. It doesn't cover the labor, which is the big part of it. 10,000 for a roof doesn't strike me as a
A
huge
big job,
project.
yeah.
Right.
So,
Unless it's on your own house.
I would move this to ATM unless it's an emergency like Joe said.
I agree there. So can we get documentation from the facilities manager on the reasons why this needs to be voted on?
yes. Although when I asked him about holding it because of winter time, he didn't seem to have major heartburn over that.
Okay.
So I'm gonna take this as a non-emergency.
Yeah, if it's not an emergency, then don't do it in the winter anyway, so that's good.
So
All right,
out,
Yes. Article 10, I know that when I was working on computers at the highway department, there was conversations that I had with Mr. Smith in regards to the new support staff that he had. We would like to be able to increase the hours to the highway assistant in regards to the actual functioning of that. The additional funding for that was $9,333.36. And I personally support that because of the work that he needs up there.
I supported it at annual town meeting, not at special town meeting.
Okay,
Because there are a few other positions that I would like to see have more hours.
mhm.
The conservation agent, I would like to see that go up to 19. I don't know if this is 19 hours or 20
But
hours.
this was, I think at 20, I didn't bother trying to figure out what that extra hour would cost and take it out of this.
It
But,
has more to do with benefits.
well, yes. Yes, I agree. It's intended to be non-benefiting.
Right.
So I think we should really look at that. I mean, and Jimmy has done an outstanding job. So, but he's gone this far that I think if we open, it's what I'm seeing, every time we open the door for something, something else comes at us. So I would rather see this be put on the annual town meeting. And as you said, Veronica, if we need to add different and more staff, we can do it all together. I think if we pick and choose this, there's gonna be somebody knocking on our door next week.
But I don't think this is a lot of hours right now.
It's
She's
10
at,
It's 10.
hours a week.
she's at 9 or 10 hours a week.
10 hours a
She's
week.
at 10 hours and they're asking for another 9 hours.
I wouldn't do it at special town meeting. I will do it at annual town meeting.
Right, but
I
that'll
think-
also go to a benefit, is just what you're saying.
No.
No.
it- the
It's just
intent-
under.
He asked for 20, but I would make it 19 if you agree to the increase. So it stays below the benefits.
Yeah, we don't want to benefit that position.
Okay, so
And the
I
question is whether you want to do it now or the annual town meeting.
I agree that we probably need to do all the wages in the
Mhm.
annual town meeting.
Right.
I agree. I don't like this half year stuff.
We
Well, it's gonna
budgeted
hurt
for
us.
10 hours at the annual town meeting in May.
Yeah.
And I'm not opposed to changing hours in May, but not at the special town meeting.
Right, okay.
I think the special should be for certain things that we need to fix and get done. You know, bills that haven't been able to get paid, or something comes up as we see, you know.
Things
That's,
that were
yeah,
unanticipated.
yeah, in my opinion, I think we're opening up a can of worms if we start adding hours at a special. It just ain't gonna be the right thing to do.
Okay, I support that.
So no.
Scratch that one, but annual town meeting,
Yeah, and
yes.
annual town meeting, we'll bring it back up and take a vote. We're in favor of it. Yes.
Article 11, the library roof. This is the one where I really had a warranty question, because that roof was just put on in what, 2010?
Yes. And the vendor that did it came back and did some work and it still wasn't sufficient and not come back. And we cut them off as far as doing any future work. But I think, as I understood it, they're in a position where they've got to find someone to fix the roof. And
No, and I may be wrong on this, but I did hear some talk about they were doing the addition on the building. And I thought there was some conversation about, well, maybe they would just do the whole thing at once, but somebody made a remark that if they did that, they'd have to go put it out the bid and blah, blah, blah. And so that kind of squished it.
Unless it's the same vendor that did the roof to begin with. I don't know if there's any kind of, I don't know.
well, apparently the warranty question doesn't fly because the vendor's not responding, not coming back, and
Okay.
it would probably not be cost effective to try to take legal action.
Do we have quotes for this then? I mean, if it's, I guess, 50,000.
It is not connected with the new addition, so it's not something that the new addition caused.
Okay.
Someone did ask that question, is that apparently these leaks are separate and distinct.
Mhm.
My understanding is that Karen and Stacy are going around with buckets and pails when it rains.
Yeah, you really don't want drips in the
So
library.
I'll ask the question again. I heard that the graciousness of the person doing things said that they heard that there was an issue. Maybe I'm wrong or misunderstood them, but I don't think so, that they're like, well, we'll repair it all at the same time, but somebody here or whatever made a problem saying, oh, well, that's a separate thing. If you do that, you gotta go out, procurement and do all that, and they didn't want to do it. So my question would be, if we have someone that's donating something, why wouldn't we just take advantage of that and let them fix the roof?
I think it's a procurement law thing.
Well,
I don't know.
now, I don't know that it's really any different than that whole wing that's being built down there. It's being not built without public money.
Right.
So that whole wing didn't go through procurement.
Mhm.
I think if somebody wants to donate money to fix the roof anywhere,
If they donate money,
Well, just fix it when they're
Just fix
doing
the
the
roof.
roof. If they're doing the
Well, yeah.
roof, do the roof.
okay, either they provide the
They do.
contractor that does
Yeah,
it,
they
but
do.
either way, it's no charge to the town.
Mhm.
I don't think there's anything wrong from the procurement basis in doing that. If you- Unless you see a
I'm
different.
no procurement guru.
um, But I think we squashed the issue about it needing procurement if the benefactor was willing to do it.
If it's donated.
Right. He may have been planning to have his same roof contractor do it, and just have the town pay for this piece, which case you'd probably end up having to procure it.
Yeah.
Would
and
the
you
board
need to
have
pay
any
prevailing
Issue
wages.
with me reaching out and asking some questions?
No, and if it turns out that we find an alternative funding source between now and the 14th, we either change the number or we delete the whole, just pass over the whole article because it's taken care of
So I
somewhere
thought
else.
that was some of the concern that, if, I think I was pretty sure they offered to do it, but then they said, well, you can't do it because it's a separate thing, so you gotta put it out to bid, and they didn't want to open that up.
Well, I believe that there needs to be more research, so can we just put that on hold until you get your answers to your question?
I'll get an answer in a day or two, and I'll relay to you, Ross, and then you'll know.
Leave it in the warrant.
Leave it in,
Mhm.
and then, if it turns out that, gee, we might be lucky, then you can change it.
Well, if it turns out we have an alternative funding source before the 16th, I can pull it out.
Mhm.
If not, I'd like to continue so I can keep the warrant moving, and then we'll just move no action at town meeting.
No, good,
That's all
I'm
right.
good with that, yeah.
All right, the next one on pay for the town clerk. I would put this on the annual town meeting.
Well, this is something that she's earned because of getting her certification.
Correct.
It's also a part of Mass General Law that says once the town clerk is certified, they should get the $1,000. And I think it would be appropriate to do it now versus wait. Apparently there are funds to cover this in her existing budget. But this would just be to accept the Mass General Law and allow this to happen.
But the town has to vote to accept it. It doesn't mean that you have to do it. It means that, I guess for me, it's a matter of anything that affects salary, similar to Jimmy's request. I would absolutely consider this at the annual town meeting. I know it's not a huge amount. It's probably $781 or so because it's up to, a maximum of 1,000 per year, 10% of whatever your annual salary is. Am I reading this right?
Mhm.
Yeah, well, 10% is more than 1,000, but it's capped at 1,000.
It's more than 1,000?
For salary,
Yeah,
10% of 100,000 is $1,000, right?
10% of.
It's about, it's in the
She's somewhere in the
700.
60 or 70 range, so 60,000, 10% would be 6,000, right?
I think it's in the 70,000 range.
Yeah, okay, so it'd be 7,000, but this is capped at 1,000.
Yeah, so it would be 700.
700, not 7,000.
An amount equal to 10% of regular annual compensation, but not more than 1,000 per year.
Isn't 10% of 70,000, 7,000?
700,
That's 1%.
is it?
I shouldn't question someone else's math, but I think so.
Especially your math.
Well, I could be wrong. I've been wrong before.
I think 10% of 70,000 is 7,000. And we're not
Who's over
paying,
there adding it up for us?
we're only paying 1,000.
What's 10% of?
Take away 1 0.
10%.
So it's 10% regular annual compensation.
So if it's 7,800 times 0.1, oh, it's 7,180. That's a lot.
Yeah, well, but it's capped at 1,000. So
Right,
most
so
she's gonna get is
So
You're
that's
1,000.
only gonna get
1,000.
1,000.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
And this is just sort
I'm
of,
not opposed. I'm just opposed to things that are salary related that weren't anticipated.
Well, I
Yeah.
don't consider this salary because it is a compensation for a completion of a course. It's different than a salary in my mind, so I don't have a problem keeping it in.
and when you go back to Article 2, and look at that, that's salary adjustments for a lot
So
of
is this a
people.
one-time?
Yeah.
Or is it, if
No.
it's a one-time, I'm okay. If it's every year,
I believe it's part of her every year.
Regular annual compensation paid by such town services in such an office. So because of her certification, she is or the individual is performing certain duties because of the certification, therefore it's justified for the additional $1,000 per year.
Having
And
a
if she
cert,
says that, she has it in her budget, right? So if it's in the budget,
having a certified town clerk is key to this town functioning correctly and staying out of.
I agree. I'm not disputing. I'm just saying that I would put a salary thing at annual town meeting.
Well, this is a little bit, to me, this is a little bit different only for the reasons Mass General Law says we have to do it. Just,
Well, we can vote to do it. It doesn't say we have to do it.
Well, I'd rather not get into an issue about whether it has to be done now or later and whether it's a grievable issue. I think some of this is what's justified, and it's recognition of employee for what her certification.
because I don't think this
disagree with
is the
that.
same as adding more hours. This is something that she's got the certifications now. You know, we'll pay it, you know, we
she's
can hold
gonna
off.
be performing more duties than what she normally had because of the certification.
She will.
That's what this is saying.
We have a better idea that she's doing it correctly because she's gone through the certification.
Right.
And having seen other towns where the town clerk doesn't do 100% and then resulting mess and liabilities, I think compensating her for her skills is.
I think, you know, I think it's there, it's, you know, it's on the article, just move on. Just do it, keep it in there, let the town go.
I'm outvoted.
I'm outvoted.
Keep it in.
Such me, I think so, thank you.
Thank you.
This whole zoning bylaw, I think that article,
It's not a zoning bylaw, it's a general bylaw.
well, it says zoning
I
bylaw,
thought it was,
No, it's general.
general bylaw.
It is a general bylaw. It's not zoning.
all right, well then I'll change it to a different section, but I thought that,
I thought I sent that to you general. You had asked me. And I said it's a general bylaw.
So that, I think, I mean, you gotta leave it in there. I think it really, there's been a lot of controversy about, you know, this particular enforcement of this. So let's just, you know, it's got a lot of read to it, but I believe we need to do it.
A lot of read,
A lot of reading.
got a lot of legs.
Yeah, it does, and I think the building inspector and building commissioner put a lot of
I
time and
thought
effort in.
zoning, I'm going to the reports and bylaws. Hold on. Let me just-
Put it on the floor and let the townspeople vote for it.
Zoning bylaws are chapter 145 and above. This is chapter 112. This isn't zoning. These are the general bylaws.
Yeah. it's
General
general.
bylaws. Oh, I know, because that's the general bylaw I get asked to act on, and I shouldn't have acted on something.
So I say we keep it because we're not looking at wording.
Nope. I just.
We're not looking at wording?
Well,
the
you're
change-
welcome to, but
We are,
I-
but
I
we're
will-
Oh,
just
not
seeing-
today, not
right.
today. Okay, okay.
I will fix it, make it a general bylaw and get rid of the 2/3 vote requirement.
Okay, it isn't vetted yet by Adam.
Sorry?
Adam hasn't vetted it yet.
Correct.
I made the changes that, and it looks like you put in my changes, that he suggested, when I met with him during office hours. He's the one that said, oh, wait, you have a non-criminal disposition of violations, you need to update that, et cetera, et cetera. And so there were some changes that have been sent to me that I backed out and put his in. So we'll see what comes out of this. Okay. Is that it?
Madam Chair, could I interrupt you for a moment?
On page.
Sure.
I apologize. I was not able to get on at the beginning of your meeting. And since you're talking about things for the warrant for a town meeting, I'm just curious to know if we've heard anything with regards to the status of the charter review that we talked about several weeks ago.
It has been sent to the legislature and it's waiting on their calendar, but it has moved forward a little bit.
Thank you, sir.
How long was that was sent out when? That should have been sent out right after town meeting, right?
It was sent out in August, I think, September.
And the meeting was in April.
Is
Meeting
there,
was in May, early May, like May
Well, that's still
8th.
seems like it
Close
took a
to
while.
April.
Anyway, but thank you, Ross.
that is a little bit of time, I think, to send out, but I don't know where that failure went. I would think that,
Let's move on to that.
Yeah.
yeah,
All right, so budget. That's our last thing, right?
Yes, Article 2.
Yes.
So good, the warrant is 1, 2. I think it's just gonna be 10 articles altogether, that's not bad.
no,
The budget. So this is asking for $142,784.46. And it's based upon the adjustments to the FY '22 omnibus budget. That's printed in the back of your warrant.
Well, and I will point out, the land use administrator and the grant administrator were funded, the monies that were in there were higher. We're subtracting out monies from there. I don't know why that was, but when you do the math at step 1, we funded it, we're going with the exact. I mean, if that's a problem for people, we can just pull those out. We don't have to change them, but we
Well,
are
I
lowering
think
them.
if it's less, it's less, and it will actually probably be less than that because you're not gonna have the person start until,
Oh, yeah.
halfway
half
through the year.
Yeah, half the year, we'll have free cash.
but
It'll roll
it will
back.
make the change next year look drastic. You put in a full salary, a full year's salary. So
Right, right.
I think,
Leaving it like this is fine.
yeah, I think we'll just be prepared. I'm sure that we're gonna get certain opposition to what we're doing.
I
but-
guess my question is, if there's opposition to these positions, I just, we won't vote them. We'll just keep them as is. Because they were already voted. And I don't want to
Well, they
open it
were
up.
already voted and they were already funded.
They were already voted.
The
and
money is
already
there in
funded.
those positions.
So I think I want to take those positions out.
That's kind of my thought on it too. But,
Well,
And my reason for doing it is that the monies that were put in were higher than the actual amount. But if there's gonna be, if putting it here leaves the opportunity for the positions to not be funded, I think it's important that we have more staff doing the work of the town. That's what I think.
as opposed to volunteers who are volunteering their time and that.
So whatever we
I think
need
it's
to
right.
do to not discuss any particular one line item, if it's not in there, we don't want to open this budget up to the entire budget.
yes, and I realize that somewhat. Yes, I realize that, which is why I'm not showing the whole omnibus budget with just these changes. I'm showing just the items that change, so we don't open up.
But
things that
as
we've already-
Veronica just said, there's some in here that we're asking money back or whatever, lower. We should just not even show them, just leave the money way it is.
Okay, but if you,
Do that, it's gonna
If they're
say,
unfunded position, unpopulated positions.
Correct, but I believe that, I mean, I'm kind of on Ross's side on this, is that is offsetting the total number.
It is,
and-
I
and-
agree.
And that I
if you
think.
take out the negatives, it will mean that
we're asking
That
more money.
142 gets higher.
it's
Exactly.
much higher.
Yeah,
and
a
I'm
lot
trying
higher.
to-
Well,
and-
3,000 higher. Yeah.
Well, yes, but there's other jobs that are going down. There's treasurer collector that's down 2,400.
Mhm.
Another one,
There's-
cemetery parks, 2,600.
How about the schools that are down 49,000, lowering their assessments?
Right.
I mean, that's, I call it a windfall,
It is,
but,
but it's not being voted on.
well,
We're
I
showing
think
it.
to your point, if someone wants to reopen the land use coordinator, even though it's negative, why wouldn't they reopen the school and say, the 49,000 decrease isn't enough, we want $200,000 increase, or being decrease.
Granted, yeah,
Or there
Yeah.
could, way school budgets go, there could be someone saying, no, we want to increase the school assessment no matter what.
I just think we have to be prepared for special town meeting. We're going to get a lot of kickback from particular people, which I hope to God certain people really think about what they have to say before they say it at town meeting, because there are certain people that got us in this pickle.
So I appreciate Veronica's concern that if you have the line item here, even though it's showing a decrease, someone could bring it up and want to delete that whole
Remove it.
position maybe. I'd hate to see us asking for, I'm gonna guess, 200 and something thousand increase versus the 142.
it would just be those positions, so it would be adding, it would, I'd have to work it out. I mean, that drops it by $3,000 roughly.
But
I mean, I like showing that we've decreased things when we can.
I agree too.
And, you know, it's not everything, we're not just adding, we're decreasing where appropriate. But I think I'd said enough, and this is your warrant.
I think we leave it the way it is and just be prepared to do our homework.
I agree.
And I'm fine with that. I'm ready. I think, Ross, the way you presented it, somebody wants to argue with us, come on board, come on and argue. We're doing the best we can for the community. We are all doing the best we can. And as you show it, there's decreases and there are increases. That's part of business.
Right, and we all have the ability to make an amendments. It's not just the town.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, we are residents as well, so
Yeah.
if we want to make amendments, we can make amendments as well, so.
Yeah. So I just think we move forward with that budget. I
And
really do.
the warrant article, the motion would be to move, to raise an appropriate 142,000 and change.
Yeah.
With some talking with the moderator, maybe he confines the conversation to dollars up and down not positions disappearing or being upfront. I don't know whether, I mean, whether he consider, if someone wants to delete the land use coordinator, whether that would be outside of the motion or not.
But that's not part of the, you know, this is where I'm not concerned, but I'm a little confused. We're not voting on whether or not we're gonna fund or not fund a position. We're looking at, you know, the total package.
Yeah,
And
but we could defund it to zero.
Right, but what I'm saying is we could also vote to table that if it comes to that.
Somebody would have to make an amendment to change land use coordinator, administrator to a different number,
Right.
down to zero.
And get it approved by the majority. I
Yeah,
don't
and
think
then
that's
that,
gonna happen.
that amendment has to be approved. voted.
I understand that, and I'm
So-
saying I'm not worried about
I'm
that.
not worried.
I am.
I mean, I think any position in here, for that matter,
Can be done that way.
could be voted down or deleted.
Let's take our chances. I feel very confident the town will support us. We
I-
may get a couple people that are gonna bark and bark, just like they did at the spring, the annual. I'm ready, I'm good.
As part of the explanation, there's a $29,613 increase on the fire chief salary line item. That is on the assumption that we continue to pay the existing chief through June, and that we continue paying the acting chief through June. And it's an assumption. I don't have any facts to say whether those end dates are right or not, but I thought we ought to put money in to cover that potential scenario.
So 131.
No, because
So
I'm trying to get all applicants for that.
I mean, I put it in for that as a placeholder, but
I don't know. Take our chances, folks. We need a motion on that?
No, we just leave it like it is right now.
I feel your
Unless
pain,
you wanna-
Veronica, but we're big boys and girls. We can pull this off. We can do what we gotta do, just do the right thing for the town. Huh?
I think it's a mistake to leave those two in for that small amount. I do,
For the two,
for the $3,000 that it's gonna give us back. I'd rather take the chance
do
and
you
drop
think,
the.
do you
Yeah.
really think someone's gonna pick on those two jobs
If the
versus?
question hadn't already, no, I didn't until,
I got called today by somebody asking about those jobs. Specifically saying, why are you appointing new jobs tonight or posting new jobs when we don't have a balanced budget, which is not true. We do have a balanced budget right now, and because it's funded.
Mhm.
And if town meeting approves it, these changes are balanced. But somebody did question the grant writer and the land use coordinator today. Now,
and if they're in here, it's open for today, and it's only 3,000 difference. I do, I'm the one that added those to the line. because
So
it was less.
142 to 145, it's not. If you really feel that way, take them two out of there. Scratch them, don't open it up,
Don't
and
adjust
we'll
it.
fight the rest.
take out a line item 14 and 15.
14 and 15, scratch them.
Yes,
Yeah,
okay.
and if we need $3,000 subtracted from the fire chief, that means 2 less weeks.
Two less.
Roughly, of double duty. Double coverage, 2,400 versus the 3,000. This is
We'll figure it
1,200 a
out.
week, right?
We will be fine. I really feel we'll be fine.
Okay, so
Scratch 14 and 15.
all right.
I don't even want to debate it.
And I scratched out the placeholders for the MIS budget. I wasn't sure if it was gonna be changed, but
I
No
think there
change.
needs to be, or we at the end of the year.
We're gonna have to do what we have to do. We have ARPA funds coming in that's gonna have to cover certain things. But
ARPA funds don't cover.
there are certain things that it does. And well,
Okay, we're
okay,
good.
so I'm taking the MIS, there's no change.
There's no change in what we
But
have.
I'm taking those as a placeholder.
I don't wanna go there with this
Yeah,
budget.
I would agree with that. We can do municipal religious transfers. if we need.
Okay, so the 142,784 number will change. By the 16th, I'm hoping to have a funding source worked out for all of these. At this point,
Will we have,
I'm looking for, pull a rabbit out of thin air or something, but I will try to have funding sources.
Do we need to bring you a magic hat in there or something?
Yeah, yes, I will
Okay.
accept all funding sources. And magic hats are included.
Okay.
so we're removing 8 and 9 and 14 and 16. Correct?
And 10,
And 10. Why? Why 10?
that's the increased hours for, are you on the
Oh,
right
no,
sheet?
no.
Are you on the right sheet, right version?
Maybe not.
8, 9, and 10.
I'm looking at the budget itself, the,
Oh, I
The
thought you were talking
budget
about warrant items. I'm sorry. So we're moving from the budget sheet at the end, we're moving line items 8 and 9, 14 and 15.
and what about 19? It's a 0, it doesn't have anything in there.
Why was that?
Number 19.
19.
Maybe I thought that was a MIS one or something.
Yeah, take that out.
Well,
out.
no, that's the,
That's the phone bill moving from the library to facilities.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that amount is.
So we leave that there.
Does anybody know what that amount is?
I do not.
it's the amount that's necessary is 4,000 something, so I'd say $5,000 to cover the monthly costs that the library is not going to be able to pay. So I would say 5,000.
Okay. Thank you for mentioning that before we lost an audience here.
And I do know the exact amount, so when I find that, I'll send it over to you.
Okay, otherwise, is the article's okay. I'm gonna work on formatting and that stuff. Do you want to pick who's gonna read the article?
No, next time.
No, we'll get that.
We'll get to that.
Keep me in suspense so that I have to.
Absolutely. We all read very well.
It's really,
So,
really
what we did-
scientific. We start with one and.
What we did last time, we started the chair, vice chair clerk, right?
Yeah,
Just run it
go
down that way.
around, and I'm good with that.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Just how about that? That's,
So just, pick an order and go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
just what we did.
Is that all right? I mean,
That's fine. I'm just, as an editor, I'm trying to get things done so that
Yeah, so that'll
I
help
can get them
you.
out the door.
that's how we've always done it.
And it worked last,
Always, like I've had some.
annual
such
town meeting, we
experience.
did that, it worked out perfect. Yeah. All right.
Except for there might be some, if there's like the Board of Water Commissioners might read the water ones. Sometimes that's what happens instead of us.
You can ask them that.
Yeah, it asks the Board of Water Commissioners if they want to read theirs.
Then even Kathy Spofford, hers,
Yeah,
she put it in, you can ask her, she would read, you know what I mean?
And highway, the same, ask him if he wants to read his.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the way they used to
Actually,
do
there
it.
isn't
Does he
any-
have one? I
No,
think
he
he
doesn't, he doesn't anymore.
Doesn't anymore.
There's a hand,
There's a hand. Andrea Wood.
Andrea.
Andrea,
Yes, I don't have the material you're going over tonight.
But you will
However,
tomorrow. You will tomorrow, Andrew.
Oh, I know. But in the draft that we had before, there was an article about the new dispatch center. You've decided to drop that article?
Yes, they're gonna find other sources and other ways to fund that.
Okay, and you also had an article about WOPAT,
About what?
MWPAT.
Oh, there was some debt that we don't need to put as a warrant articles, because that will be covered in the recap sheet.
Okay,
So,
I just couldn't track them off and I wondered what had happened to them. Thank you.
thank you for checking.
Thanks, Andrea.
All right. So, are we done with the warrant articles then? More or less
No,
for
I
today.
I think we're good.
Okay,
accomplished what I want to, which is to know which articles are in or out. And I can work on getting the wording right and get it reviewed, and life
That's
will move
good.
on.
all right. So I'm gonna move on then.
Yeah,
to
move on to-
4.7.
4.7.
Andrea's hand is on. Andrea,
Yes,
Your hand
I
is
just
still.
can't get it to go away. I'm sorry.
okay, wave it if you have
Wave
a
if you
question
have a
again. Just keep hitting it, and then we'll know. All right, so 4.7, discuss and vote on the Conservation Commission request regarding the newspaper for placement of notices. So I got this, I put it in the SharePoint, the email that I got. Hello, Board of Selectmen. Thanks to Jessica's assistance, we have just discovered that the cost to run a short legal ad in the Sentinel and Enterprise, much less expensive than the Lowell Sun, is $550 for 5 days. Jessica also learned that the Groton Herald charges about half that. We also discovered that unlike past CONSCOM procedure, it is legally required that an RDA applicant pay to place a legal ad for at least 1 day in the newspaper, 5 days prior to their meeting. Notice of intent notices have to run longer. It is our belief that RDAs are submitted to CONSCOM by courteous, honest folks who want to keep things above board. If we start placing RDA legal notices as required, a prohibitive fee schedule may well put folks off and impede their willingness to file RDAs at all. Plus, why make folks pay so much for legal notices, period? The Sentinel and Enterprise costs are frankly outrageous. We propose that going forward, the town adopt the Groton Herald as their official legal notice site. This information can be clearly placed on the town's webpage so that folks won't tell CONSCOM that only an Neshoba publishing paper can be used. Please advise CONSCOM votes for the Groton Herald. So I know the planning board has been using the Groton Herald for the past year. That had more to do with that unpaid bill that did get paid. And I believe that they are still placing their legal ads in the Groton Herald because it is much less expensive. So the question is, if they choose to post in the Groton Herald, could we put it on the website or somewhere, or they could each put it on their webpage? We post in the Groton Herald. So that there isn't a question about I was at the CONSCOM meeting probably a month ago, maybe more, where someone questioned why people were putting legal notices in the Groton Herald. It wasn't a local newspaper. That it should be in the Sentinel and Enterprise or in the Lowell Sun. But they are much more expensive.
Well-
So what do you guys think? CONSCOM is an appointed board, not an elected board. I think the elected boards can choose. But CONSCOM would go by our direction.
I think I did hear something on that, putting it in the Groton Herald. Well, I don't know very many people in the town of Townsend get the Groton Herald, but we should make sure we do whatever's right. And if the local newspaper for the town of Townsend is the Sentinel Enterprise or Lowell Sun that everyone gets, and that's where I think we should go. I think doing the Groton Herald is just very specific to the Groton. Like we used to have the little town, you know, the trilogy and stuff that was Townsend, but it did go different places.
It's a cost thing.
I get it. It's a cost, but why can't we put that cost on the applicant? You know, you have to pay to advertise.
I think that's what they're
But
saying.
that's what they're
though.
saying. They're saying that if we have to, well, it has to be in a newspaper. It has to be published. And, you know, the fee structure is something that we have to look at it with Conscom as well, because I think that a lot of the fee structure that's involved in a lot of the processing here is way out of whack for what, you know, I know that the planning board, when Veronica and I were on the planning board, we had to look at the fee structures on several different occasions because it wasn't right. What they're saying is that because of the cost of the newspaper goes on to the applicant may just do something as opposed to filling out the application. That's the concern. My concern would be that, you know, it would be best practices as opposed to us telling what you know, which newspaper they should go into. Best practices would be to find out where the elected boards are actually publishing and following the same as that protocol. I believe that should be probably the way in which I would look at it, meaning how the zoning board and how the planning board, where they do, then the other boards should be, they all should be doing the same thing.
I know the planning and zoning do the Groton Herald.
Yeah, and I don't see any problems with that, but I don't believe that we need to say you can only do it in the Groton Herald, you know?
Well, then maybe what our request should be, pick your paper and just post where on your website,
Yeah, which
your
paper
webpage
yeah.
for the town,
What paper
what you use.
I'm good with that.
So, okay, so,
Yeah, let's just go that way.
all right, I'm looking here to see if there's okay, all right.
Thank you.
Actually,
you,
it's on
Joan,
the
for that.
referral that we're gonna talk to next, legal ad, published in the Groton Herald. This is zoning board.
Yep.
October 29th and November 5th. So,
I know planning does the same thing as well, so.
okay, so, we can get back to them and just say, please post on your webpage the local newspaper that you are using, as opposed to dictating where it needs to go. All right. Thank you very much. All right, the next one is review and comment on the special permit referral for 8 Jeff Street.
Madam Chair,
Mhm.
I am going to recuse myself from any conversation, any vote on this.
Okay, thank you.
Do you
Chad?
want me to leave the room or are you fine with me sitting there?
Yeah.
There's no talking, Jeff. All right.
So this is a mandatory referral.
Yes.
The mandatory referral, I've read through the entire referral notice. I believe that, you know, the building commissioner is the one that had made a decision on this particular property, and I feel that the Board of Selectmen should support the building commissioner in his decision.
I will not disagree with that. So the Board of Selectmen supports the building commissioner's decision. And is that our referral?
I think that's all we really need to support our.
So we'll write that, I'll write that up and. All right, so that takes us to 5.1, the Townsend First policy regarding purchases and hiring. So is that you,
Okay.
Joe?
Madam Chair.
Yeah?
You can
Uh,
you can talk- you can talk-
You're-
Why is everyone, why is
You're
everyone?
unrecused, you can
I'm
talk now.
recused, I can speak now, thanks.
Yes, you may.
Madam Chair, I kind of asked this to be put on only for the reason, I think it's come to a time for the community and us as a board to create a policy that we look at any department, doesn't matter which one, if there's gonna be any hiring, promotions or whatever, that we look within our own departments. We take in, set a policy that if there's somebody qualified within the town or the department, they deal with, or if some position is put out there, that if someone's in a department that's kind of close, that we could mentor or whatever to bring up. But and I have to be very careful how I say this, so I don't insult anybody. You know, I don't want to see a lot of out-of-town people come into town. I think we have a great group of people, employees throughout the entire community. And I think we need to set some kind of a policy that we can move forward with that. And also, as far as purchasing, you know, if there's anything that can be purchased local, instead of going out of town, we really should be looking to support the local businesses of the community. And that's kind of where I stand. I don't know if you're in favor, you're not, but there it is.
Yes, go ahead. And then I have something to say. Unless you want me to go first.
Go ahead.
I guess my question is, is the policy looking within the department first, or is it looking, are you adding a live-in town requirement? In other words, if, say, land use, I mean, the two people that work in land use don't work in town, don't.
No, that's not, I'm kind of saying, if we're gonna put jobs out there, okay? You don't have to live in town. If you've already been here,
If you're
you're
working
already
in town.
working. I'm just, if you're working within the town, the consideration to be first.
Okay, so look at
There's a lot of
someone
people that don't live in town that have to be here. I get that.
that work here.
That work
I mean,
here,
right now,
absolutely.
so it's promotion from within.
I don't know how that would be.
Is that what we're saying? Or are we saying a residency requirement?
No, I don't think it's a resident, because I do believe, police department, fire department, I think some of the highway department, water department. There's a ton of people that live outside our community. I'm just saying we need to set a policy to work with what we have within our departments.
I don't disagree with that. I just wasn't clear what you were
Where's that?
saying.
I am concerned about using the word policy, especially when you're talking about equal opportunity. It has to be very broad. There are certain guidelines that one has to follow. I 100% agree with what you're going for, especially with some of the purchasing. I think we should be encouraging supporting local businesses. I know on me personally, when I need something done within my property, the first thing that we look at is a local company, whether it be for painting or landscaping or whatever we need to do. We will look for a local company, because that's just how we roll. Having said that, I would definitely feel that we need to research it as far as the employment portion of it. So that we're following equal opportunity and all of that kind of stuff. There's also any discrimination laws that we have to be very careful of, and how that is, because even though we have an idea of what we're looking for, it may infringe upon somebody unknowing to us for discrimination purposes.
And that's why it's here for discussion, to look at it. I think it's just something that we need to look at and deal with. And not to give Ross more work, but, you know, figure what we need to do, or, you know, tell us what we need to do to move forward with it, just to look at it and to just try. You know, because I've heard, you know, and I've heard from different highway people, water people, different, all departments, you know, like, gee, you know, they put an ad out there, you know, we're applying for it, we're not getting, they're going out of town bringing people in. So let's just try to make the town's employees feel like they have a value. You know, you're not just here, there's your number, you're here today, you're not going anywhere, because, you know what I mean? So I just want,
Hire from within.
yeah, hire within, that's a good word. And if there's questions about qualifications, figure out how we work with them. What do we need, or not us, but the department head, figure out how you work with that. What do you do? Can you mentor? Can you not? Is it too long to wait for? You know, I mean, grant you, if there's a position open and we need it and there's nobody that really is within that absolutely has,
Or
I
nobody
get
that
that.
wants it.
I get that, you know what I mean? But at least let's, and I agree that,
Where do we go from here with this, Ross?
I think Townsend first is a good and appropriate policy. I would define it. For purchasing, that's pretty easy. If you can buy, if you can get comparable items at comparable prices, it should be Townsend first. I think that's pretty easy. When it comes to employment, I think it's somewhat the same category. If you can find two qualified people with the same credentials, it should be, Townsend should be the tipping factor to be a Townsend resident.
So you're saying resident as opposed to current employee,
Well,
either or?
I think when it comes to promotions, now you've got two people working on a job, one lives in town and one doesn't. I think at that point, its promotion is based upon the best candidate, because they're already town employees.
Yeah, I agree.
And I wouldn't separate out, I wouldn't make a distinction for promotions. I think new hires, if you can find someone in town has all the right qualifications, I would give them an extra point for being a town resident. I think that's Townsend first. I think promotions need to stand on their own and not appear to discriminate because they come from another town.
And I've seen ads for job that do say, like we could say something like Townsend residents encouraged to apply, or, you know, however they did it, they've made it in the job description itself. It says that, you know, they're looking for residents, or they're looking for one particular.
I wouldn't go as far as also as making residency requirements, because I think that just
Right.
narrows your field too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, I agree.
And I can, if the concept of everything's equal, Townsend residency tips the scale, I can work with Kate to find the way to word that so that it doesn't.
I don't want to
Infringe on someone's
discriminate
rights or
against anyone. I don't want to put anybody's back against the wall, but I just think as a board, it will just show people that, you know, we care. We care to keep you around. We care to be part of the program. You know what I mean?
Okay. So you'll work with Kate to get some wording for us?
Some
to
wording as
consider?
far as how you select candidates for new hires that doesn't appear to discriminate. And
Okay,
so I think your intent is if there's two candidates that equal, the person in Townsend gets
Well,
the
that's,
preference.
so.
I'm not saying we can't hire someone from out. I'm not, I just, I think it's something that to take and do that will protect what we have.
So I put the words that are usually put on this job postings. Do they, I mean, does this affect that, or well, we haven't voted it yet?
Yeah, I don't think it affects the job posting. I think it affects your selection. When
Okay.
you see who your candidates are,
That's where you go.
you think hard about whether it's feasible to hire the Townsend person. I don't think we should settle for second or third best just to do that. But again, if it's equal, and it's probably hard to say two candidates are exactly the same, we're gonna pick the Townsend one, but
Mhm.
the preference is we want to support Townsend residents and we want to support Townsend businesses.
Okay.
But I think promotions have to stand on their own and not be tied into.
Oh, no, a department head, if they're gonna do a promotion, that's should have no bearing on us. But if there's a job, we're gonna post for a job, or we're gonna do something, I think we need to have something going like that. That's my opinion.
Okay, so this comes back to us then?
Yes,
Mhm.
and then I
We'll have to
think
finalize it.
the select board would issue a policy saying Townsend first and a little bit to define how that is implemented.
Okay, when do we want it to come back?
After
2
he
weeks,
talks to
4
Kate.
weeks, January?
Yeah, do January, get through the holidays.
Can we do it after town meeting? After that, I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah,
care.
I think
I
after
see
after
that.
January first.
January.
I see the
good.
timeline for 12/15, so.
I get vacation
Oh,
time
yeah,
I'm
let's do
taking in
January.
January, so I
Let's
can
do
do that.
January. First meeting in January, whatever date that is. Okay, is that good?
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay, so that comes back.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, thanks.
I don't wanna open a can of worms, but I just think it's something we have to address.
I agree with you. I just don't know what I'm going to say. All right, so 5.2, town administrator updates and reports.
I've covered the warrant for you. We've got I think it's in progress. Town moderator knows about that day. Talked to TCAM and they have all the equipment to provide audio and microphones in that room.
Okay,
Do you want the motions projected on a screen or should I talk to the moderator about that?
I think that would be wonderful. If we can do it, yes.
Well, can I speak on that? The equipment that we used for the Purple Heart ceremony,
Uh-huh.
the sound equipment is being purchased by TCAM. So they're gonna provide that for us. We're gonna do the same setup according to what TCAM and I have talked about in
Okay.
regards to running the line in here to get into the Castus machine and all of that kind of stuff.
Oh, so it will be broadcast live on TV?
I think that's what the goal is. I can't
Okay.
say if but that's what we're trying to work out.
Okay,
Having said that, there would need to be, mics are gonna be all set up for, the finance committee and everybody on stage with the moderator with the system. There's gonna be some, wireless mics and other gonna be, hardwired plus one in the audience. And we need one up in the balcony as well.
right.
So we're trying to, that should be all covered. As far as projection, we would have to pull the screen down and we would need to use the portable projector unit if you wanted to do that. You'd have to-
Where is that portable unit?
That's
Water.
the
has one?
60
No, we had to
million
get
dollar-
one for this summer, for the PFAS thing. I scrambled.
Right, so whatever,
If I could have borrowed from the library, but Dave Vachon brought one. He has one as well.
so, yeah, so what needs to happen is the
And
table
I think
needs to be
Rec has
set up.
one.
We have a laptop that can project. So we just need to hook up that and the coupling is all.
I
at the
mean, I'd
same-
like to run those steps by the moderator because it's sort of his meeting,
Mhm.
but your preference is to show the motions on the screen.
Yep.
Usually the moderator has feelings about whether he wants it live telecast or not. I get the impression you're saying if you can do that, you'd like live telecasts.
I think
That's,
he usually does.
yeah, that's what they're doing, but they don't necessarily have to do it, but they need to record it. So they can go, he can make that decision 5 minutes before we go. So,
All right, so that's town meeting. I think we're, so far, we're on track for everything.
All
Personnel, we're still looking for some qualified applicants for town accountant and treasurer collector positions. Veronica, I sent you some of them, and we may look at,
There were a couple, and there was one that I thought, well, that's a possibility for accountant, but I think the application was for
yeah,
treasurer.
so we ought to look at those and see if we can find
Pull
somebody.
some in.
So far, I've not seen anybody who's got strong municipal experience in these
In
positions.
either of them, yeah.
Fire chief is still out on medical leave. Latest we heard is until December 1st. Contract negotiations with the fire union are progressing. Contract or retro pay calculations for the police department are progressing. And I'm hoping to wrap those up very soon. I've checked with the union, and all the other contracts, he agrees, are negotiated. What we need to do is get the language updated, primarily to fold in some of the MOUs that we're collecting over years and get them into one document for each union instead of having to thumb through
Right.
missing stuff. And the union says it's on them to get the draft together. So
So they will do that.
considering where things are here, I'm not going to contest that, and I'll gladly let them do the editing.
Right.
That's all I've got as an update today. Town meeting
Perfect.
prep has been my life for the last couple of weeks.
And we're gonna have a special town meeting. We never had one last year.
Well.
So this is
So as soon as we finish specials, we'll get together and figure out a budget notice to send out to get prepping for the annual.
yes.
Yay.
It keeps on going. Hey, it's good.
Keep the wheels moving.
All right, reports from board liaisons. All right, I'm going first. I'm general government, and I've got a whole list here.
Oh, boy.
So the first thing is the UPWP intersection study. This was from, I was on the planning board when this was started, and you were too, Chaz. It was probably almost 3 years ago now.
Yep.
And it's for the Canal Street intersection, where the old brick store is. For that, so there it's many pages. You have it right there, Joe. So Beth has also circulated it to Jimmy Smith and the planning board. It's circulated to us. This was an MJTC. It was from going to the MJTC meetings, and Beth and I, there's supposed to be an intersection for right out here and also for like the harbor.
yes.
But it's the first step in getting on the tip. So if we look at that and we want to make any of the recommended changes to the intersection, we could potentially get it on the tip to be looked at and funded as one of the projects. So we're looking at, 4 or 5 years down the road, the way, because they have a 5-year plan that just keeps rolling as projects come in. So Beth is coordinating. If we have questions, we are to send the questions to Beth. She will coordinate all the questions from any of the boards. And we've already had tentative talks with George Snow and Brad Harris and MRPC for them to come to our work session on December 6th. It's a Monday morning. And for them to come for, 30 minutes to an hour to discuss with us and figure out what next steps are, what we like, what we don't like, any questions that we have. So that's that. ConsCon. I will be meeting with Jess and Jen Eaton tomorrow to discuss the TASA lease, because we have to figure out whether we're going the CR route on that property or the transfer the property from the town to conservation. So we're starting those talks tomorrow morning, just looking at it and figuring out what our questions are.
Okay.
FinCom, I
Can you,
attended,
the new administrator,
admin assistant,
admin assistant is starting next Monday.
I think that's the date,
Yeah.
correct? So yeah, there's that. All right, FinCom, I attended their meeting last week. There were questions about ARPA, and hopefully those have all been dispensed with. Would that be accurate, Ross? The questions from ARPA? Okay. Then grants, Adams Dam, the gate is in, the trail work. They're getting the grow socks that are going to go along the side for erosion. The big
Boulders.
boulders are in, and we're pretty close to completion on that signage. Roger's going to get some signage for their handicap parking, et cetera, et cetera.
Great job. They're doing such a great job.
It looks really good.
Yeah.
And the next round of grants for Wild and Scenic are coming out, and there's Mass Trails grants also that just came out today that we should look at for possibilities for trails in town. So that's that. I'll do that. Hopefully I will, this is one of those grants where you get 50% up front and then you get 50% once you report.
Mhm.
I'm the one doing the report on that. And so I'll try to get it done in December. So we get the monies for the remainder of the year. Shared streets and spaces. We got a bid back, Markings Inc. I talked to them today and I'm talking to them again tomorrow. I talked to them last week. And so I'll have more for that, Ross, for you about whether we need to go out to bid or not, or whether they can rebid. I'm gonna have to talk to you, I think. Can they rebid?
If we're changing the scope.
We're not changing the scope. What we're changing is, you know what I sent you on the RRFB? That page from the grant application that's more specific about exactly what's needed. She said they didn't have that. And she said because of that, I don't know what they used for their calculations, but it could be, we were looking at numbers and I'm like, $400, I have 40 on this sheet, for each of the items. So I'm going to talk to the guy that actually put it in there tomorrow and have more information on that. Meanwhile, we have received the planters. They're at the highway department, I believe. Did we get the bike repair?
I
kits
got
today?
a call from a trucking company today and I think they're coming tomorrow.
They're coming tomorrow. Does Joan know? 'Cause she's
No,
been-
I don't know if Joan knows.
I will get in touch with her. Okay, so we have items coming in. The benches and bike racks will be delivered in February. The wayfinding sign should be here in December. The Vicksburg sign should be here soon. The You Are Here signs, I'm not exactly sure where we are in procurement with that, but everything will be procured and we got an extension to the end of June.
Good.
So we're in good shape. When are the bids due in for the RFP? Is that like 2 weeks? I think it is,
That's a good answer, yes. It's-
like the 16th. So anyway, we're all procured and because of the extension, we'll be good to go for all of that next spring,
The bid opening is the 22nd,
the 22nd.
2 o'clock.
All right, so hopefully we'll get, I think Emmy told me she had 3 people contact her and she sent stuff to them. All right, and that's all I have.
That's it?
That's it. You want to report on the wonderful meeting with the Housing Authority and the Affordable Housing Trust and the.
Oh, yeah, I'm the liaison for
We do
that.
have people waiting tonight.
We
In
do.
case we can hold this for another day, I'm sorry.
We had a wonderful housing meeting. There is a production plan in the works, which is excellent. Maps are really good. And that will be coming. That's all I have. Elected boards.
I'm all set.
Huh?
Yeah.
You're all set?
Yeah.
As far as public safety, I mean, I think things are moving along. I just think I have nothing to relay at this time.
Okay. Announcements or communications? I don't think I have anything
I don't have
that
anything.
we haven't already talked about. Our next meeting is November 8th at 9 a.m. That's an ARPA planning meeting, so hopefully all the boards, committees, etc. will have their stuff on the chart paper downstairs.
I'm gonna try, I know I'll be out of town. I'm gonna try to go in and look at it. If I can't make that meeting, I'll at least have my input.
All right. And November 16th, we have 6 p.m.
Yep.
So,
So Madam Chair, I move that we review and sign payroll and bills payable warrants out of session.
Second that,
all those in favor?
Joe Shank, yes.
Joe Sexton Duranian, yes.
Is there a motion to move into executive session and to not return to open session?
Madam Chair, I move that we enter into executive session pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation of an open meeting. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares. This is in regards to Eaton versus Townsend, Gerard versus Townsend, Merrill versus Townsend, Clark versus Townsend, and not return to open session.
Second,
All right, all those in favor?
Joe Shank, yes.
Joe Sexton Duranian, yes.
Ross, did I see a finger?
Nope, nope.
Veronica Kell, yes. I thought maybe I jumped too fast. All right, thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
We're gonna
Appreciate
get
it.
off the
So,
Zoom here.
how do I?
We have to, we don't adjourn until, we'll adjourn from the executive session,
Yes.
correct?
No, we have to
Well,
adjourn.
we're adjourning from TCAM and from Zoom.
Correct,
Those are being closed.
okay.
And so actually you will return to open session just to adjourn the meeting.
Oh, do we need a different?
I think what you said is you're not coming back to open session.
Yes.
That's correct, okay, all
It's
right.
just a formality to be in open session and then adjourn.
All right, thank you, everybody.
See ya.